Welcome to Infinite Novel Audio. If you love epic fantasy, thrilling adventures, and immersive audiobook stories, you're in the right place. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Also, be sure to check out my other channel, AI Otaku Studio, for even more amazing AI-powered and anime-inspired content.
Chapter 1: The Worried Transmigrator Boy. In the west of the Douluo Empire, outside Lingshan City, there was a small village near the border. The sky was gradually darkening. It was autumn, and the chill that emerged near nightfall in Lingshan City, located in the central part of the Douluo Continent, made pedestrians wrap their clothes tighter around themselves. Inside the village named Bilan Village, under the afterglow of the setting sun, the blue-silver grass that covered almost the entire village shimmered with a faint light. A handsome boy, about 5 or 6 years old and dressed in a grey long robe, was lying on a patch of blue-silver grass in his own courtyard, gazing at the setting sun. His eyes held a mixture of anticipation and worry, a look that did not resemble an innocent and ignorant 6-year-old boy at all. Sigh, 6 years have passed since I transmigrated to the Douluo Continent, and the day of the spirit awakening has finally arrived. Jiang Yi couldn't help but sigh. Originally, he was a college student who had just graduated on Blue Star. He had just gone home to sleep after getting off work, without anything like being hit by a big truck happening. But when he woke up again, he had become a wailing infant. Through the conversations between his parents, he figured out that he had transmigrated to the Douluo Continent. Tomorrow was the time for his spirit awakening. For the people of the Douluo Continent, a spirit was the most important thing in their lives. If one awakened a good spirit and possessed high innate spirit power, then one would basically have no worries for the rest of their life. But if one didn't awaken a good spirit, or even lacked innate spirit power entirely, then one could only be a commoner at the very bottom for the rest of their life. Therefore, even though Jiang Yi was a transmigrator, he couldn't help but worry about his future life. Zyro Yi, come back and eat quickly. A woman dressed in a plain robe, who looked to be in her 40s with a few wrinkles at the corners of her eyes and a slightly pale complexion, stood by the door frame, calling out to Jiang Yi with a gentle smile on her face. I know, Aunt Ru. Amidst his worries, Jiang Yi climbed to his feet, brushed the blue-silver grass off his body and walked toward the house. Arriving in the room, a small wooden table was placed in the center, with several dishes that were fragrant and delicious set upon it. Although it wasn't luxurious, it felt very warm and cozy. Around the wooden table were 3 stools. On one of them sat an adorable little girl with a jade-like, delicate appearance and soft blonde hair, who looked to be about the same age as Jiang Yi. Her skin was as fine as snow, revealing a luster like warm jade. There were a few water droplets on her face that hadn't been wiped off after bathing, making her even more endearing. Seeing Jiang Yi walk in, the little girl immediately beamed and said in a playful voice, "Brother Jiang Yi, hurry up and come eat. I can't wait anymore." As she spoke, she stared at the food on the table, revealing an adorable, drool-worthy expression. Such meals were not common for them. Looking at this cute little girl, Jiang Yi also smiled. Jiang Yi came to the seat and sat down, and Aunt Ru subsequently sat down as well. "Mom, can I eat now?" the little girl asked cutely, looking up. "Nanan, you can eat now," Aunt Ru said with a gentle smile. After her mother gave the word, Jiang Nanan immediately picked up her chopsticks and began to eat, stuffing her mouth full. That's right, this cute little girl was Jiang Nanan. When he first confirmed that he had transmigrated to the Douluo Continent, Jiang Yi couldn't fully figure out which timeline of the Douluo Continent he had arrived in. Because living in the countryside, he basically couldn't come into contact with anything else. Observing his parents' clothing and the surrounding houses, he could only rule out the possibilities of Douluo III and Douluo IV. It wasn't until one day, when his mother was holding him and chatting with their neighbor, Aunt Ru, that he heard the name Jiang Nanan. Only then did he tentatively determine that he should be in the era of the Peerless Tang sect. Later, hearing information about the Douluo Empire and the Sun Moon Empire made him completely certain of the timeline. Knowing that he was in the era of the Peerless Tang sect, Jiang Yi was actually somewhat worried. After all, Tang San's influence had been affecting the Douluo Continent throughout this period. As a transmigrator, could he have already been targeted? Carrying such worries, Jiang Yi reached the age of 1. At this time, a major event happened in his family. His father, Jiang Pingan, had an accident. Jiang Pingan was an ordinary soldier on the border of the Douluo Empire, spending most of his time away from home, guarding the border. When he was born, Jiang Pingan had returned once to give him the name Jiang Yi, and after a while, he returned to the troops to stand guard. Ever since the Heaven Du Empire split into the Heavenly Soul Empire and the Douluo Empire, disputes often occurred along the border. During one of these disputes, Jiang Pingan was unfortunately severely injured and eventually lost his life. And to make matters worse in that same dispute, Jiang Pingan's good friend, Jiang Yun, who was Jiang Nanan's father, also met with misfortune just like Jiang Pingan. In an instant, both families lost their pillars. And in their final moments, they both expressed the same dying wish to their commanding officer. That was to give up their pensions, hoping that their commanding officer could give their 2 children a chance to awaken their spirits. Originally, such a request was impossible to fulfill, because the opportunity for 2 spirit awakenings was something that 2 ordinary soldiers could never trade for, even if they died 10,000 times. However, because Jiang Pingan had some friendship with his commanding officer, and seeing the situation of the widows and orphans, that officer couldn't bear it. In the end, this request was granted, with an agreement that when Jiang Nanan and Jiang Yi reached the appropriate age, they could go to Lingshan City to have their spirits awakened. It was precisely because of this that Jiang Yi had the opportunity to awaken his spirit at the age of 6. Otherwise, let alone worrying about what kind of spirit he could awaken, whether he could even awaken a spirit in this life would have been a question. After learning this news, both Jiang Yi's mother and Aunt Ru were incomparably sorrowful. 3 years after Jiang Pingan died, Jiang Yi's mother also passed away due to excessive grief, and Jiang Yi was subsequently adopted by Aunt Ru. Although Aunt Ru was still alive, due to the passing of her husband, coupled with her congenital heart problems, her health had never been very good. Fortunately, although Jiang Pingan and Jiang Yun had given up their pensions, that commanding officer still helped them often, which allowed their lives not to be so difficult. Soon, the food on the table was finished, with most of it eaten by Jiang Nanan and Jiang Yi. After all, both of them were still growing, while Aunt Ru, due to her health, never had a large appetite. "All right, after finishing your meal, rest a while and then go straight to sleep," Aunt Ru said gently to them while clearing the dishes. "Okay," Jiang Nanan responded obediently. Jiang Yi also nodded. He had long since become accustomed to being treated as a child, as he currently looked like one. Afterward, he accompanied Jiang Nanan to the small courtyard to play. In this era of the peerless Tang sect, the life of a commoner was not much different from 10,000 years ago. In fact, because they were unable to awaken their spirits, most commoners lived even worse lives. Coupled with the fact that evil soul masters appeared all over the continent from time to time in this era, it made life even more miserable for the poor. After nightfall, commoners living outside the city dared not leave the village at all, fearing not only wild beasts but even more so evil soul masters. As usual, he accompanied his childhood sweetheart to play house in the courtyard. Jiang Yi was worried about his own spirit in his heart, and Jiang Nanan also didn't seem to have her usual enthusiasm, becoming somewhat distracted as they played. "Brother Jiang Yi, we are going to awaken our spirits tomorrow. What kind of spirit do you think we can awaken?" Jiang Nanan frowned slightly, asking in an expectant tone. However, hidden within that expectation was a trace of imperceptible fear. Even though Jiang Nanan was well protected by her mother, in the Douluo Continent, where children were always precocious, she had long been clear about the importance of spirits to them. If they couldn't awaken a good spirit, then the opportunity that Jiang Yun and Jiang Pingan had sacrificed their lives for would be wasted in vain. "Haha, our Nanan is so cute and likes eating carrots so much, maybe you'll awaken a rabbit spirit." Seeing her like this, Jiang Yi pretended to be carefree and laughed. "Really?" Jiang Nanan's eyes became sparkling. "I heard that the wife of the sea god Tang San from 10,000 years ago had a rabbit spirit. Can I also become a titled Douluo in the future?" "Of course you can," Jiang Yi nodded with a faint smile. In the original work, Jiang Nanan did indeed reach the cultivation level of a titled Douluo. Then when I become a titled Douluo, I will take Mom and brother Jiangyi to live in a big house, eat lots of delicious food, and help Mom cure her illness, Jiang Nanan said expectantly. Brother Jiangyi, then what kind of spirit will you awaken? Jiang Nanan looked at Jiangyi with anticipation. That we'll have to wait until tomorrow to know. Gazing at the night sky, Jiangyi's tone was filled with uncertainty. Chapter 2: Jiangyi's Blue-Silver Grass. Early morning, a breeze blew by, rustling the blue-silver grass in the village. Zyro Yinanan, are you ready? The village chief Cairo Nar is already here, and we need to set off. Aunt Ru pushed open the door and gently called out to Jiangyi and Jiang Nanan, who were staying in the same room but sleeping on different beds. Aunt Ru. Jiangyi, who had already woken up, was sitting on the edge of the bed dressed and called out. Jiang Nanan jumped out of bed at this moment, her excitement and anticipation impossible to hide. Are you both ready? Then follow the village chief Cairo Nar and set off. Jiang Nanan ran over and grabbed Aunt Ru's hand, while Jiangyi followed behind them. Arriving at the entrance of the small courtyard, an ox cart was already parked there. Sitting on the ox cart was an old man with withered skin and crane-white hair, looking to be about 60 years old. He was the village chief Cairo Nar of Bilan village. Grandpa village chief Cairo Na. Jiang Nanan ran to village chief Cairo Na with a laugh. Our Nanan has become even cuter. Hearing Jiang Nanan's sweet call, village chief Cairo Na broke into a kind smile, then picked her up and placed her onto the ox cart. Jiang Nanan was incredibly beautiful when she grew up, so naturally, she was incomparably cute when she was young, and she had a very sweet tongue too. There was hardly an adult in the village who didn't like the little girl, Jiang Nanan. At this moment, Jiangyi also came to the side of the ox cart and respectfully called out. Grandpa village chief Cairo Na. Haha Zyro, you come on up too, village chief Cairo Na laughed. Village chief Cairo Na was also very fond of Jiangyi, a polite, handsome and cute child. Jiangyi nodded and climbed onto the ox cart. Village chief, I leave them to you. Aunt Ru walked to the side of the ox cart, her tone earnest. No need to be so polite. If our village can produce 2 spirit masters, I as the village chief will also have glory on my face, village chief Cairo Na laughed. In this era where no one was specifically assigned to help awaken spirits, the probability of a spirit master appearing among commoners was almost zero. If a village could produce 1 spirit master, it would be a huge, joyous event. If that spirit master had a good relationship with the people in the village, perhaps other children in the village might also get a chance to awaken their spirits. However, apart from village chief Cairo Na, Aunt Ru had not told anyone else about the spirit awakening. If such a thing were to spread, it could cause big trouble. All right, you two sit tight. We are setting off for Lingshan City, village chief Cairo Na said to Jiangyi and Jiang Nanan. Mom, Aunt Ru, goodbye, Jiangyi and Jiang Nanan said in unison. Village chief Cairo Na waved his long whip, the ox cart slowly moved forward, and Aunt Ru gently raised her hand to wave goodbye to the two. Lingshan City was a small border city of the Douluo Empire. When the two countries were on friendly terms, this place was a hub for trade and cultural exchange. And if a conflict were to arise, this place would also be one of the shields for the Douluo Empire. The bumpy ox cart slowly traveled along the road. After about 2 hours, the surrounding road began to level out. A city that was not very tall appeared in front of them, and village chief Cairo now pointed to the city upon seeing it. Zyro Yinanan, this is Lingshan City. Jiang Nanan looked at the huge city in front of her, her eyes wide, her little mouth slightly open, a cute expression of surprise on her face. As for Jiangyi, his expression was relatively calm, though there was a hint of brilliance in his eyes. Although Bilan village was not far from Lingshan City, he had never been here before. Having only stayed in Bilan village since coming to the Douluo Continent, Jiangyi naturally couldn't help but feel emotional about the first city he had ever seen. Lingshan City, I wonder if this is my starting point or my ending point, Jiangyi couldn't help but think in his heart. The ox cart moved much faster on the smooth road, and before long, they arrived at the city gate of Lingshan City. After queuing to enter the city, village chief Cairo Na first settled the ox cart, then took Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan to the military camp stationed at the city gate. Back then, Jiang Pinggan and Jiang Yun had served as soldiers here. The three of them quickly arrived at the checkpoint, and the patrolling soldiers outside the military camp immediately stopped them. "Military restricted area, no approaching, leave at once," the leading soldier shouted coldly. The patrolling soldiers behind him were also cold-faced. As troops guarding a border city, they were highly vigilant against anyone. The soldier's cold voice and face caused village chief Cairo Nu's expression to change. Jiang Nanan nervously grabbed Jiang Yi's hand and hid behind him, only daring to reveal her head to peek. However, village chief Cairo Na had seen the world when he was young, so naturally he wouldn't be panicked, and a smile immediately appeared on his face. "Officer, please calm down. We are here to see Officer Shifei. We have a letter as proof." After speaking, village chief Cairo Na immediately looked at Jiang Yi behind him. Jiang Yi also reacted immediately and took out a somewhat yellowed letter. A promise to help awaken a spirit, and the location being in a military camp, was no small matter, so naturally a token was needed. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be able to get through the gate of the military camp. The leading soldier, upon hearing the name Officer Shifei, immediately flashed a hint of surprise on his frosty face. He then took the letter from village chief Cairo Nu's hand and opened it to read the content. The expression on the soldier's face changed constantly. Eventually, the frost on his face dissipated, and he handed the letter back. "So these two children are the orphans of martyrs. I have offended you just now, old man. Please follow me." Many thanks, many thanks." "Zairo Yinanan, hurry up and follow." Village chief Cairo Na quickly apologized with a smile, pulling Jiang Yi and the other along to follow the soldier toward the military camp ahead. With the soldier leading the way, there were naturally no obstacles to entering the military camp. Jiang Yi held Jiang Nanan's small hand, his gaze secretly glancing at the surrounding soldiers. Most of the soldiers were ordinary people, only a few emitted an oppressive aura. "Officer Shifei is inside. You wait here for a moment, I will go in and report." Arriving in front of a tent, the soldier said this and walked into the tent. Inside the tent, the furnishings were very simple. A middle-aged man in armor was sitting on a stool handling military affairs. "Officer," the soldier respectfully called out. Officer Shifei put down the pen in his hand and looked up, his eyes full of dignity. "What is it? Speak." "The orphans of martyrs, Jiang Pinggan and Jiang Yun, have been brought here by an old man." Hearing the names of Jiang Pinggan and Jiang Yun, Officer Shifei's dignified eyes showed a trace of trance. "Has 5 years passed just like that?" Back then, because of his friendship with Jiang Pinggan, he had promised to help their children awaken their spirits, and now it was time to fulfill that promise. "Bring them in." Officer Shifei's emotions returned to calm, and he said lightly. Yes, the soldier received the order and went outside the tent. "The two children can go in now, you stay outside, old man." Okay, I will just wait outside." "Zairo Yi, after you go in, take good care of Nanan, you know," village chief Cairo Na hurriedly urged. "I know, Grandpa," village chief Cairo Na, Jiang Yi said with a serious little face. After saying that, Jiang Yi pulled the nervous Jiang Nanan and walked into the tent. The surrounding light dimmed, and Jiang Yi looked up at the center of the tent. Ordinary appearance, dignified and heavy temperament, emitting a powerful aura, about 40 years old, this was Jiang Yi's first impression of Officer Shifei. At the same time, Officer Shifei was also sizing up the two children who walked in. "Appearance and temperament are good, but I don't know about their spirit and spirit power." To be honest, Officer Shifei himself held a pessimistic attitude about whether Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan could awaken spirit power. After all, he had investigated long ago, and neither family had ever produced a spirit master in their ancestry. You must know that the control over spirit awakening was not as strict as it is now before. Even then, no spirit master was born, so the probability of their descendants becoming spirit masters was minimal. "Hello, Officer Shifei," Jiang Yi pulled Jiang Nanan and bowed. Officer Shifei saw this scene and felt a little surprised. Facing himself, this little boy could actually remain calm and be so polite. "Get up, you can just call me uncle." Officer Shifei said lightly. Being brave and polite were advantages, but in the eyes of a spirit master, they counted for nothing. However, he would not be too harsh on these two children. Which of you is Jiang Pingan's child? Jiang Yi said, I am. Officer Shifei stared at him, nodded slightly, and didn't say anything more. He had promised to help their children awaken their spirits, and had even sent people to give them money for relief. He had already done his best. If it was really as he thought, and neither could awaken spirit power, he didn't intend to care anymore. After all, he couldn't take care of them forever. And if they awakened spirit power, it would be another matter. Your fathers died for the country, and I promised to help their children awaken their spirits. Now I will fulfill this promise. As he spoke, Officer Shifei stood up, and Jiang Yi stared at him closely. A dark blue light flashed in his hand, and a crystal-clear crystal ball appeared in his left hand. At the same time, he took out a special device made of silver-white metal, walked to the center of the tent, and placed it on the ground, forming a strange formation. Whoever awakens first, stand in the middle of the formation, Officer Shifei said to the two. Brother Jiang Yi, holding Jiang Yi's hand, Jiang Nanan's tone was timid, her eyes filled with anticipation, but she dared not step forward. Although she really wanted to know what her spirit was, the possibility of not being able to awaken spirit power made her a little scared. Don't be afraid, our Nanan will definitely be able to awaken spirit power. If Nanan is scared, then let me awaken first. Jiang Yi stroked Jiang Nanan's little head and comforted her with a faint smile. Jiang Yi let go of Jiang Nanan's hand and walked toward the awakening formation. Standing in the middle of the formation, Jiang Yi was outwardly calm, but his inner unrest was perhaps no less than Jiang Nanan's. As a transmigrator, his spirit was truly unpredictable. Officer Shifei was expressionless. Spirit power surged on the surface of his body, disturbing the surrounding air. A grey light flashed, and a 2-zhang-long spear appeared in his right hand. The spear was entirely grey, the spearhead was curved, and the sharp part was forked like a snake's tongue. Yellow, 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 purple, purple, black, 6 spirit rings rose behind Officer Shifei. It's actually a spirit emperor. Jiang Yi widened his eyes slightly, looking at Officer Shifei, who was holding the snake lance and whose aura had changed drastically. According to his observations, Officer Shifei was not the person with the highest status in the military camp, not even the second. Possessing the cultivation of a spirit emperor was indeed enough to be surprising. Although it is just a small border city, the garrison of Lingshan City is really not weak. After releasing his spirit, Officer Shifei injected spirit power into the formation. Instantly, a dazzling light bloomed. A milky white light enveloped Jiang Yi's body. Jiang Yi closed his eyes tightly. Under the effect of the formation, he felt a strange sensation appear in his body. He couldn't help but open his right palm. Blue light condensed in his palm, and finally formed a small blue grass. Blue-silver grass. Officer Shifei looked at this scene indifferently. This was within his expectations. And Jiang Yi looked at the blue-silver grass in his hand, his face revealing undisguised disappointment. However, he did not give up. There was still spirit power to be tested. As long as there was a trace of spirit power, he would not give up his belief in becoming a powerful spirit master. Put your hand on the crystal ball and test your spirit power. Officer Shifei handed the crystal ball to him. He placed his palm on the crystal ball. After a while there was no reaction at all. It remained dull and lusterless. No spirit power. Officer Shifei shook his head and took the crystal ball away. Jiang Yi stood in place with a dull look in his eyes, feeling a bit lost for a moment. Blue-silver grass and without any spirit power. This had completely sentenced Jiang Yi to death. In the Douluo Continent, spirit and spirit power were everything. No spirit power meant he had no possibility of becoming a spirit master. Coming to this world with extraordinary power, yet being unable to cultivate, was a painful thing. Is there really no way? Just as despair couldn't help but rise in Jiang Yi's heart, a voice sounded like a savior. Detected that Jiang Yi has awakened his spirit, obtained an achievement. Custom achievement system has successfully bound to the host. Achievement name, Jiang Yi's blue-silver grass. the blue-silver grass unique to Jiangyi, a one-of-a-kind trash spirit, absolutely no second one like it. Achievement Reward, 0.1 level of spirit power. Chapter 3, 0.1 level, Custom Achievement System. Jiang Ye, who was in a daze, felt his pupils dilate instantly when a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Is this a hallucination? This was his first reaction, thinking that because he had no spirit power and his emotions had been on a roller coaster, he had developed a hallucination of possessing a system. However, looking at the light blue panel in front of him and the faint trace of extra energy within his body, everything was telling him that this was not a hallucination. Custom Achievement System, is this my golden finger? After confirming its reality, Jiang Yi felt excited in his heart. As a transmigrator, when he first arrived, he had tried more than once to call out his golden finger, but unfortunately there was no response. He had already accepted the reality that he did not have a golden finger. Jiang Yi stood blankly in place. Officer Shifei and Jiang Nanan both thought he couldn't accept reality and that something was wrong. Brother Jiang Yi, seeing this, Jiang Nanan forgot her timidity, ran to his side anxiously and took his hand. Feeling the warmth of her palm, Jiang Yi managed to suppress the excitement in his heart. Nanan, I'm fine, Jiang Yi comforted her softly. Jiang Nanan, it's your turn to test, Officer Shifei said directly, seeing that Jiang Yi had returned to normal. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. He had originally planned to intervene to wake Jiang Yi up. He didn't expect Jiang Yi to recover in such a short time. Such temperament was indeed very rare in a child, but without spirit power, no matter how good the temperament was, it was useless. Brother Jiang Yi, don't worry. Nanan will definitely be able to awaken spirit power. No matter what, I will always take care of you and be with you forever, Jiang Nanan promised with a serious little face. Hearing Jiang Nanan's childish promise, Jiang Yi felt a warmth in his heart. Thank you, Nanan, Jiang Yi said with a faint smile. Uncle Shi, could you let me test my spirit power one more time? However, after saying this, he did not leave, but instead made a bold request. Officer Shifei frowned upon hearing this request. He didn't understand what was going on with Jiang Yi. Could it be that he hadn't recovered yet? Officer Shifei had wanted to refuse directly. But seeing the extremely firm look in Jiang Yi's eyes, Officer Shifei sighed in his heart. For a child wanting to fully accept it is indeed not that simple. Since that's the case, let him test one more time and let him accept reality. Handing over the crystal ball in his hand, Officer Shifei looked serious. Spirit power testing almost never goes wrong. This is the last chance, you should accept reality. Thank you, Uncle Shi. Facing Officer Shifei's words, Jiang Yi nodded in thanks. However, he knew his own situation. Others might truly not have any surprises, but he was different. Placing his palm on the crystal ball, the feeling this time was completely different from before. His body, which had been calm, naturally released energy under the influence of the crystal ball, merging into it. As the power was injected, the dull crystal ball lit up with a dim light. This! Officer Shifei stared at the crystal ball in disbelief. Although it was very weak, the spirit power contained in that light was genuine. There is actually spirit power. Could it be that I was mistaken just now? Feeling the weak spirit power, Officer Shifei couldn't help but doubt himself. Uncle Shi, I have spirit power, right? Jiang Yi asked, pretending to be expectant. Officer Shifei looked up and then said, That's right, you have spirit power, but it's very weak, only about 0.1 level spirit power. The first time it didn't test any spirit power, it might have been because it was too weak. Apologies. After all, if he hadn't agreed to Jiang Yi just now, he would have buried someone with spirit power. However, Officer Shifei also felt a bit innocent. In the history of the Douluo Continent, it seemed that there had never been 0.1 level spirit power. The lowest was half a level. Great, Brother Jiang Yi has spirit power, Jiang Nanan also shouted, happy for Jiang Yi. Thank you, Uncle Shi, Jiang Yi said with an excited smile. This excited smile was joy from the bottom of his heart, not because of this 0.1 level spirit power, but because of the system that brought him spirit power. Possessing the system, he would have infinite possibilities. Jiang Nanan, it's your turn to test, Officer Shifei said again. With Jiang Yi's example, Jiang Nanan was no longer worried at this moment. and couldn't wait to run into the awakening array. Spirit power was injected again, and dazzling light engulfed Jiang Nanan's body. The light dissipated, and her appearance had undergone great changes. Her whole body was shrouded in a faint red light, her eyes turned red, her ears became longer, surrounded by fluffy white hair, and her figure became more slender. "This is Soft Bones Rabbit Spirit." Officer Shifei looked at the changed Jiang Nanan and made a judgment immediately. "It really is a rabbit, Brother Jiang, you didn't lie to me," Jiang Nanan thought happily. "Come, test your spirit power," Officer Shifei said immediately. The tone this time was much more enthusiastic. After all, the Soft Bones Rabbit was different from the blue-silver grass. This was a high-level spirit. Being able to awaken a Soft Bones Rabbit, their innate spirit power would definitely not be bad. Jiang Nanan obediently placed her hand on the crystal ball, and dazzling light burst forth. Innate spirit power level 8, Officer Shifei was full of surprise. He didn't expect that the promise he made, because of a favor, would actually bring him 2 spirit masters. Especially Jiang Nanan, this genius with innate spirit power level 8. Back then, his own innate spirit power was only level 6. "Brother Jiangyi, I have innate spirit power level 8. Jiang Nanan excitedly threw herself into Jiangyi's arms. "Nanan is amazing," Jiangyi praised. Ahem, at this moment, Officer Shifei coughed twice. The two turned to look at him, and Officer Shifei had a serious expression on his face. "Both of you have awakened spirit power. What are your plans for the future?" Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan looked at each other, then said, "We will listen to Uncle Shi's arrangements." Good, a smile appeared on Officer Shifei's face for the first time. He knew that the help he had casually given before had not been in vain. If he could nurture Jiang Nanan in the future, the assistance of a powerful spirit master would certainly allow him to go further. Whether it was his status in the army or his strength. However, if one wants to get a return, there must naturally be corresponding investment. He helped the two awaken their spirits and had been providing financial help. Now, as long as this is maintained, he will certainly reap the rewards. Since both of you possess spirit power, I will arrange for you to attend Lingshan Primary Academy. Lingshan City is quite far from your village. I have a vacant house in the city. I can have your mothers brought over. What do you think of this arrangement?" Officer Shifei said to Jiang Nanan with a faint smile. Hearing the arrangement mentioned by Officer Shifei, Jiang Nanan's eyes lit up. However, she didn't agree immediately, but first looked at Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi nodded without hesitation. He had no dissatisfaction with Officer Shifei's approach. In anyone's eyes, Jiang Nanan, the genius with innate spirit power level 8, had more investment value. He was able to enjoy these treatments only because he was riding on Jiang Nanan's coattails. After all, given the friendship between his father and Officer Shifei, it wouldn't have lasted this long. "Thank you, Uncle Shi," Jiang Nanan said, sincerely thanking him. Officer Shifei watched this scene with a flash in his eyes, smiling faintly and nodding slightly. "Wait a moment, I will send someone to get you settled, and your mothers will also be brought over soon." After saying a few more words, Jiang Yi took Jiang Nanan and walked out of the tent. Whoosh! A cold wind blew by. Although Jiang Yi's clothes were thin, he did not feel a trace of cold. Chapter 4: A snail starting on the spirit path, refining spirit power. How was it? Seeing Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan walk out, Village Chief Cairo now hurried forward impatiently. "Grandpa Village Chief, both Jiang Yi and I have awakened spirit power," Jiang Nanan said happily, running up to Village Chief Cairo Na on her little legs. "Both of you have it." Village Chief Cairo Na looked at Jiang Yi with pleasant surprise. Jiang Yi nodded with a smile, and Village Chief Cairo Na immediately laughed aloud. "Ha ha ha, our Bilan village has actually produced 2 spirit masters." Village Chief Cairo Na's grey hair and beard trembled, and his face wrinkled like a shriveled orange. Spirit masters, and 2 of them at that. For Bilan village, which had never produced a spirit master before, this was truly a joyous occasion of monumental proportions. Village Chief Cairo Na's voice was very loud, barely contained. The surrounding soldiers, hearing his words, all displayed expressions of envy. Everyone wanted to awaken a spirit, but unfortunately, they never had such an opportunity. Grandpa Village Chief Wei. After Village Chief Cairo Nu's excitement subsided, Jiang Yi relayed what Officer Shifei had said. I didn't expect Officer Shifei to think so highly of you both. In that case, you must train hard while staying in the city. Do not let Officer Shifei's efforts to cultivate you go to waste. Village Chief Cairo Nu advised earnestly after hearing this. We will definitely work hard, Jiang Yi nodded seriously. Staying in Lingshan City was undoubtedly the best option for them. It was not only safer, but also provided a better environment for learning. For Aunt Ru's health, it was also a good thing. Jiang Yi had always been very worried about Aunt Ru's heart condition, but due to his young age, he had been unable to resolve it. But now he had awakened a spirit, and most importantly, he had obtained a system. He would absolutely not let the events from the original story happen. While waiting outside the encampment, a middle-aged man wearing long robes soon walked over. This person was completely different from the other soldiers. Whether in dress or temperament, he lacked the murderous aura and instead carried an air of refinement. I am Officer Shifei's adjutant. You two can call me Adjutant Lin Yi. I will take care of everything from here on out, Adjutant Lin Yi said gently. Seeing Adjutant Lin Yi arrive, Village Chief Cairo Nu said to Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan, Zyro Yi, take Nanan and go with Adjutant Lin Yi. I will return to Bilan village first. Goodbye, Grandpa Village Chief, the two said in unison. After Village Chief Cairo Nu left, Jiang Yi took Jiang Nanan by the hand and followed obediently behind Adjutant Lin Yi. Led by Adjutant Lin Yi, the two left the military camp and walked toward the center of Lingshan City. Along the way, Jiang Nanan curiously observed the surrounding environment. Although it was just a small city, it was far more prosperous than Bilan village. Although Jiang Yi was also observing his surroundings, he appeared much calmer, because what he wanted to do most right now was to find a quiet place to study his system. Following Adjutant Lin Yi's footsteps, a small courtyard of modest size appeared before the three of them. This is a house that Officer Shifei purchased years ago. The interior is quite spacious, enough for you both to live in. Adjutant Lin Yi opened the door and led the two into the courtyard. It has been vacant for quite some time, but someone will come to clean it up in a little while. For now, follow me. Adjutant Lin Yi finished speaking and walked forward. Walking to the open space in the courtyard, there was a large tree with withered yellow leaves, and the ground was piled high with fallen leaves. Standing in the middle of the fallen leaves, Adjutant Lin Yi's eyes flashed with cyan light. Cyan fur sprouted all over his body, his hands transformed into claws, and his body was wrapped in cyan light. His once well-proportioned physique now stretched his clothes taut. Jiang Nanan widened her eyes, staring at the drastically changed Adjutant Lin Yi. 2 yellow and 1 purple, 3 spirit rings rose from behind him. The first yellow spirit ring behind Adjutant Lin Yi flashed, and cyan light swirled between his claws. He swung both claws forward violently, and a gust of wind erupted from his claw tips. The fallen leaves flew into the sky, and an open space instantly appeared in front of them. Not only were there no fallen leaves, but there wasn't even a speck of dust left. You have just awakened your spirit and spirit power. The most important thing now is cultivation. Officer Shifei has ordered me to teach you the meditation cultivation method. Sit cross-legged on the ground, listen carefully to my instructions, and attempt your first cultivation session, Adjutant Lin Yi said to the two. Hearing about the meditation method, Jiang Yi's eyes immediately lit up. I wonder if I can trigger an achievement during my first cultivation session. Thinking of this possibility, Jiang Yi was filled with anticipation. They went to the open space Adjutant Lin Yi had cleared for them, sat cross-legged on the ground, and looked at Adjutant Lin Yi. Adjutant Lin Yi also began to directly teach them the knowledge of the meditation method. On the Douluo Continent, the meditation method had undergone years of improvement and development. Not only had cultivation efficiency greatly improved, but it had also become much easier to understand. Having lived 2 lives, Jiang Yi's comprehension was naturally higher, and he could easily remember the meditation method. As for Jiang Nanan, she was truly gifted. With innate spirit power of level 8, she could be considered 1 in 10,000 on the current Douluo Continent. Jiang Yi's eyes flickered. A blue light flashed on his right hand, and a slender blue-silver grass condensed in his palm. He closed his eyes, sensing the heaven and earth essence energy permeating the air. Perhaps because he had lived 2 lives and his mental force was stronger, after about 30 seconds, he sensed the heaven and earth essence energy and began to absorb it. The heaven and earth essence energy gathered on the blue-silver grass, passed through the medium of his spirit, and entered his body. To think he completed his first meditation so quickly. Watching this scene, Adjutant Lin Yi widened his eyes in surprise. After all, as far as he knew, Jiang Yi's innate spirit power was only 0.1. When he was younger, his innate spirit power was level 3, and it took him nearly 2 hours to complete his first meditation. It's a pity his innate spirit power is too low. He is destined not to achieve much in the future. Whether he can even break through to level 10 is a question. The level of innate spirit power not only determined cultivation speed, but also determined a spirit master's upper limit. 10,000 years ago, Grandmaster Yu Xiaorogang, who had half a level of innate spirit power, spent half his life struggling and still found it difficult to break through the level 30 bottleneck. If it hadn't been for later obtaining an immortal herb, he might never have broken through level 30 in his entire life. Adjutant Lin Yi felt pity for Jiang Yi, while Jiang Yi was still immersed in the feeling of his first cultivation. Slow, so slow. This was Jiang Yi's first impression. After the heaven and earth essence energy entered his body, the amount that could actually be converted into spirit power and retained in his body was too small. To say it was crawling like a snail was even being generous. Level 0, 1 spirit power is indeed too difficult, and I haven't obtained an achievement yet. Does it need to complete 1 full cycle to count? Realizing this, Jiang Yi focused his attention on absorbing spirit power. At this time, Jiang Nanan had also entered a state of cultivation. Seeing this, Adjutant Lin Yi stood by to guard the two. These were people Officer Shifei valued. Naturally, he could not let anything happen to them. The sky gradually grew dim, and Jiang Nanan had already finished her cultivation, standing to the side and watching Jiang Yi, who was still cultivating. Uncle Lin Yi, how much longer until brother Jiang Yi wakes up? It should be soon, Adjutant Lin Yi replied somewhat uncertainly. This was his first time seeing a first meditation session last this long. The blue-silver grass emitted a faint glow, and the converted spirit power circulated continuously through his meridians, finally gathering in his danshan. His 0.1 level spirit power received a slight increase. Finally, it's done, Jiang Yi let out a long sigh of relief. The next second, an incredibly pleasant voice rang out. Detected that the host has completed their first spirit power cultivation. Achievement obtained. Achievement name, a snail starting on the spirit path. With the speed and perseverance comparable to a snail, you have successfully cultivated a drop of spirit power. Such efficiency is unprecedented and unparalleled, hereby commemorated. Achievement reward, the purity of cultivated spirit power is increased by 10%. Chapter 5, Enrollment Photosynthesis. Looking at the description of the new achievement, Jiang Yi's mouth twitched. When the first achievement appeared, he had already felt something was off. This system's descriptions always carried a sense of mockery. Forget it, as long as I can increase my strength, it's fine. Jiang Yi cast these trivial details aside. A 10% increase in the purity of the spirit power cultivated doesn't help much with my current level of cultivation. After all, with 0.1 level spirit power, no matter how pure it is, it's useless. However, being able to obtain high-quality spirit power without affecting the cultivation speed is still a good thing. Increasing cultivation speed is the top priority. I must try to obtain more achievements, specifically those that can improve cultivation speed. After understanding the new achievement, Jiang Yi opened his eyes. Brother Jiang Yi, you finally finished cultivating. Jiang Nanan immediately ran over happily. Kept you waiting, Nanan, Jiang Yi stood up and smiled. Many thanks to Adjutant Lin Yi for teaching me the method of cultivation. He then said to Adjutant Lin Yi. Since the officer gave the order, I naturally must carry it out diligently. Adjutant Lin Yi smiled. During the time you were cultivating, someone has already cleaned the small courtyard and prepared everything. You can move in tonight. Also, Nanan's mother should be arriving in Lingshan City soon. Once she arrives, I will leave. Both Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan nodded. Brother Jiang Yi, shall we go take a look at the rooms? Jiang Nanan suggested expectantly. Sure, Jiang Yi had no objections. He took Jiang Nanan to view the house they would be living in for a long time. The kitchen, the bathroom, the living room, every part was much better than their original home. And this was just a house that Officer Shifei had purchased many years ago. The gap in living standards between spirit masters and commoners was truly vast. Soon they saw the bedrooms. There were 3 in total, enough for both of them and Aunt Rue to each have their own. There would no longer be the awkward situation of having to share a room. From now on, we'll both have our own rooms, Jiang Yi said with a smile. Hearing this, Jiang Nanan didn't look as happy as one might expect. I still wanted to live with brother Jiang Yi, Jiang Nanan thought silently, her little face drooping. Nanan Xiao Yi, just then a gentle call came. It's Mom. Hearing the voice, Jiang Nanan exclaimed in surprise and turned to run outside. Jiang Yi followed behind her as she went out. Mom, brother Jiang Yi and I have both awakened our spirit power. In her mother's arms, Jiang Nanan said proudly. I know, Nanan and Xiao Yi are truly amazing. Aunt Rue hugged Jiang Nanan, her tone gentle yet filled with emotion. Jiang Yi watched from the side and saw clear tears in Aunt Rue's eyes. Raising both her own child and a friend's child alone had always been a tremendous pressure for Aunt Rue. Now that they had both awakened their spirit power, she could finally set her heart at ease. Xiao Yi, Aunt Rue beckoned to Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi walked over obediently, and the 3 of them embraced, enjoying this hard-won joy. The 3rd day after arriving in Lingshan City, in the early morning, sunlight spilled over Lingshan City. Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan, wearing their brand-new Lingshan Primary Academy uniforms and carrying their luggage, stood at their doorstep. Ma'am, please leave the 2 children to me, Adjutant Lin Yi said with a smile. All right, please take care of them, Aunt Rue said softly. Jiang Yi took Jiang Nanan and followed behind Adjutant Lin Yi, heading toward Lingshan Primary Academy. Lingshan Primary Academy was the only primary academy in Lingshan City. Because it was on the border and the permanent population was small, the academy was not large, with only 100 students in total. Brother Jiang Yi, will we have to stay at the academy all the time from now on? Walking on the road, Jiang Nanan looked dejected and unhappy. Lingshan Primary Academy was a boarding school. Once a semester's courses began, students had to stay at the academy most of the time. There was only 1 day off every week. For Jiang Nanan, who had never left her mother, this was naturally not an easy thing. It's okay, Nanan, I'll be with you. When it's our day off, we'll go home together, Jiang Yi comforted her, stroking Jiang Nanan's hair. Jiang Nanan nodded obediently. After comforting Jiang Nanan, Jiang Yi continued walking forward, his eyes still open. However, on the back of his right hand, a delicate blue-silver grass appeared, and his concentration was extremely focused. He intended to try cultivating his spirit power while walking. His innate spirit power was too low, he had to seize every moment he could to cultivate. In this state, the energy of heaven and earth was actually being slowly absorbed and gathered into his body. Unfortunately, achieving this was much harder than he had imagined. Even though his mental force far exceeded that of ordinary people, and even surpassed the mental force of some spirit masters who hadn't started cultivating yet, doing this still required longer practice. Less than 3 minutes later, Jiang Yi's body trembled, his previously focused concentration slowly dissipated, and the energy of heaven and earth returned to calm. As expected, it's not that simple, Jiang Yi gave a wry smile. If it could be done so easily, every spirit master on the Douluo Continent would probably do it. However, I've already taken the first step. With more practice in the future, I will definitely be able to do it. Jiang Yi's eyes were firm. Just as he intended to withdraw his spirit, a sudden ding sounded. Jiang Yi was stunned, another achievement. But he hadn't done anything, had he? Detected that the host's blue-silver grass has been exposed to sunlight for over 3 minutes. Achievement unlocked. Achievement name, Pioneer of Photosynthesis. While you were working hard to cultivate, your spirit was not idle either, though the effect is nearly non-existent. Achievement reward. When your spirit is exposed to sunlight, cultivation speed increases by 10%. Cultivation speed increased. Jiang Yi was extremely excited. He had finally obtained the achievement he wanted most. Although it was only 10% of the cultivation speed of 0.1 level spirit power, even a mosquito's leg was still meat. Brother Jiang Yi, what's wrong? Seeing Jiang Yi suddenly stop, Jiang Nanan asked curiously, and Adjutant Lin Yi also looked over. It's nothing, Jiang Yi immediately reacted. Then let's keep going, or we won't make it to the first class, Adjutant Lin Yi smiled. Putting aside the newly acquired achievement for the moment, Jiang Yi nodded. Soon, they arrived at the gate of Lingshan Primary Academy. Because school had started 3 days ago, there was no one at the gate. Relying on his military status, Adjutant Lin Yi easily entered the academy. You two wait here, I'll go help you with the enrollment. At the academy gate, Adjutant Lin Yi instructed. As a spirit elder and someone from the military, Adjutant Lin Yi naturally handled their enrollment procedures with ease. Officer Lin, everything has been taken care of. Inside the office, a middle-aged man wearing white robes said with a smile. Good, then I must trouble Director Wang to take care of these 2 children. Adjutant Lin Yi smiled. Please rest assured, Director Wang nodded. Although Adjutant Lin Yi was a spirit elder just like him, Adjutant Lin Yi was a subordinate of Officer Shifei, a spirit emperor. Furthermore, with Jiang Nanan being a genius with innate level 8 spirit power, he would naturally take good care of her. As for Jiang Yi, with a blue-silver grass spirit, and only 0.1 level spirit power, taking care of him as an extra was nothing. Chapter 6, First Lesson, Library. Adjutant Lin Yi walked over from the distance. Beside him followed a chubby middle-aged man with a smile on his face, looking just like a Maitreya Buddha. The paperwork has been completed. This is Director Wang from the academy. He will arrange the matters regarding your dormitory and class. When Director Wang saw Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan, a look of amazement flashed across his eyes. One was handsome, the other breathtakingly beautiful. Even though he had been a teacher for many years, he rarely saw children so favored by the heavens. It's a pity that the boy's innate spirit power is too low. Otherwise, they would truly be a perfect match, Director Wang said with some regret. The gap between high-level spirit masters and low-level spirit masters is even greater than the gap between ordinary people and spirit masters. If the gap in spirit power between the 2 sides is too large, the probability of them ending up together is extremely low. Thank you, Uncle Adjutant Lin Yi, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan said. Since that's the case, I will take my leave now. Adjutant Lin Yi bid farewell and left the academy. Suddenly, only Jiang Yi, Jiang Nanan and Director Wang were left standing there, staring at each other. Jiang Yi, Jiang Nanan, you can just call me Director Wang from now on. Follow me to see the dormitories. After you put your luggage away, I will take you to class. Director Wang said with a smile. Led by Director Wang, the 2 soon arrived at the academy's dormitories. Although there were not many students, the boys' and girls' dormitories were still separated into 2 buildings. Because children on the Douluo Continent are generally quite precocious, putting them in the same place could easily lead to unnecessary trouble. However, the distance between the 2 dormitories was not too far. With Director Wang's help, the 2 quickly packed away their luggage. Then, under his guidance, they went to the class where they would be studying in the future. Freshman Class 1. Today's class hasn't started yet, you 2 can go in. Director Wang glanced at the situation in Freshman Class 1 and said with a smile. Thank you, Director, the 2 said in unison. Walking into the classroom, their figures immediately attracted everyone's attention. Their appearances were truly too outstanding. Jiang Yi didn't care about these people's gazes, and as for Jiang Nanan, she naturally wasn't afraid of the gazes of these peers. Among these people in Freshman Class 1, not a single one could compare to her in terms of spirit power. Finding 2 empty seats by the window, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan sat together. Just after sitting down, a boy in front couldn't help but turn his head. The boy looked delicate and pretty, his face flushed red as he said, "Hello, my name is Zhu Long. Can we get to know each other? HMPH, Jiang Nanan kept a cold face, not bothering to speak to Zhu Long. She didn't want to communicate with these wet-behind-the-ears little boys. In this situation, Zhu Long, who had finally mustered up the courage, immediately deflated, turned his head back, and didn't dare to speak again. Watching this scene, Jiang Yi couldn't help but smile. "Our Nanan is really popular," Jiang Yi said with a smile. "HMPH, I don't need them to like me," Jiang Nanan said with a tsundere air. Glancing at Jiang Yi from the corner of her eye, there was actually one more sentence she didn't say out loud. "Except for Mom, it's enough as long as brother Jiang Yi likes me." After the small interlude, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan began their first lesson at Lingshan Primary Academy. The teacher was in his 30s, and the knowledge he taught was quite basic, mostly common knowledge about spirit masters on the Douluo Continent. You could acquire this knowledge just by reading books. After listening for a while, Jiang Yi began to close his eyes and cultivate. Sitting by the window with sunlight spilling onto the desk, a stalk of blue-silver grass quietly climbed onto the desk, bathing in the sunlight. Immediately, Jiang Yi felt that the speed at which he absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and converted it into spirit power had both increased. Of course, it also became purer and thicker. It really did improve. It's a pity my base is too small. If I had full innate spirit power, a 10% increase would absolutely be quite significant. I wonder if I can obtain an achievement that increases innate spirit power in the future. The morning classes ended quickly, and Jiang Yi opened his eyes right on time. "Brother Jiang Yi, let's go eat." Seeing Jiang Yi open his eyes, Jiang Nanan immediately invited him. "All right," Jiang Yi readily agreed. Having cultivated for an entire morning, it was time to take a break. After lunch, let's find some time to go check out the academy's library, and physical training needs to start too. I hope the custom achievement system can give me a surprise. At night, around 7 o'clock, the Spirit Tool streetlights in the academy lit up. As a border city, Lingshan City had a high level of acceptance for Spirit Tools, and there were quite a few Spirit Tool facilities in the academy. Jiang Yi's figure walked out of the dormitory. After lunch, the academy didn't arrange any classes, instead letting the students cultivate freely. After all, for a spirit master, spirit power is the most fundamental thing. In the afternoon, Jiang Yi didn't practice spirit power cultivation, but instead tried to improve his physical fitness. In his previous life, he hadn't learned any traditional martial arts like Taejokwon or Baduanjin. There was no way to experiment whether these martial arts would have any changes on the Douluo Continent. Fortunately, when he was in college, he had spent a few years bodybuilding. Even without any equipment, he could still perform exercises targeting his upper and lower limbs, as well as his core. Of course, he also used some secret training methods from Shrek Academy, commonly known as running. Jiang Nanan had been by his side the whole time, so Jiang Yi naturally taught her a set of movements. However, it wasn't aimed at increasing physical strength, but rather at improving body flexibility and agility. As an agility attack system spirit master, these two things were undoubtedly what she needed most. Yoga from his previous life was undoubtedly very suitable for Jiang Nanan's needs. After an afternoon of exercise, realizing that his body had reached its limit, he stopped training. Finally here, under the lights, Jiang Yi looked at the building in front. The library of Lingshan Primary Academy was located at the southernmost point of the academy, the furthest distance from the dormitory. That was why it had taken him so long to walk here. Stretching his muscles, which were a bit sore from the exercise, Jiang Yi walked to the library entrance. The library was brightly lit, but inside, apart from one librarian, there wasn't a single person reading. Jiang Yi couldn't help but be a little surprised by this scene, but upon second thought, he felt relieved. The oldest students in a primary academy were actually only 11 or 12 years old. At this age, added to the atmosphere where spirit master strength is supreme, it would be strange if anyone were reading. It's good that there's no one here. If there was no one in the library, he could read whatever he wanted. Stepping into the library, the librarian, without even looking up, greeted him first. "Teacher Lee, you're back." "I am not Teacher Lee." Chapter 7, Lai Lingyu, Mimicry Cultivation. Hearing Jiang Yi's negation, the librarian stood up in surprise. The librarian was a middle-aged woman around 40 years old, staring at Jiang Yi at the door in surprise. "Child, did you take a wrong turn? This is the library," the librarian asked curiously. It was surprising for her that someone would come to the library at night when no students came in the morning. "Auntie, I am here to read books. I didn't take a wrong turn," Jiang Yi explained. "Ah, you really are here to read books?" Hearing this, the librarian was also taken aback for a moment. "That's right, Auntie. Do I need to register if I want to read books?" Jiang Yi looked at the librarian with bright, lively eyes. Looking at the naive gaze of this handsome child, the librarian's maternal instincts instantly overflowed, casting other matters to the back of her mind. "No need to register, just go in and read. You only need to register when you want to borrow books," the librarian explained gently. "This is the library's book catalogue. If you want a specific book, just look for it according to the records on it." Taking the catalogue, Jiang Yi's eyes lit up. With this, his reading efficiency would undoubtedly be greatly improved. "Thank you, Auntie," Jiang Yi said politely. After exchanging pleasantries with the librarian, Jiang Yi did not delay and immediately began his reading plan. The knowledge taught in class was too basic. He was too lazy to waste time listening to it when there was sunlight in the morning. However, completely discarding that knowledge was naturally not advisable. That was why he came to the library at night. Since he couldn't gain the cultivation acceleration from photosynthesis at night, he could use part of that time to read and self-study. Although no one came to this library, the number of books was not small, and most of them were new books, not as old as he had imagined. How strange, this phenomenon surprised Jiang Yi a little. Given the reading atmosphere of Lingshan Primary Academy, even if the library wasn't covered in dust, it shouldn't look like this. "Forget it, let's read first." He first took out 2 books, Douluo Continent Spirit Master Common Knowledge and Spirit Beast Encyclopedia. For Jiang Yi at this stage, these 2 books were the most useful. Opening the books, Jiang Yi concentrated and quickly immersed himself in the ocean of knowledge. At this moment, the librarian quietly came to the front, watching Jiang Yi, who was focused on reading. This child is actually reading seriously, not just playing around. "I thought Lai Lingyu had returned from his research trip. I didn't expect that besides him, there would be someone else in this school who would come to read." "What a good child," the librarian sighed. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 4 hours went by. Phew, Jiang Yi lifted his head and closed the books. "It's about time, I'll come back to read tomorrow." Jiang Yi looked at the clock and stood up. Picking up the 2 books, Jiang Yi ran over to the librarian. "Auntie, I want to borrow these 2 books. Holding up the 2 books, Jiang Yi said. "Okay, I'll help you register," the librarian smiled kindly. Staying in the library alone most of the time made her feel bored. Now that she had a cute child like Jiang Yi coming to read, she was naturally very happy. Leaving the library with the books, Jiang Yi walked quickly back to the dormitory. Because there were fewer people, and also because of connections, both he and Jiang Nanan had single rooms. There wouldn't be a situation where he returned too late and disturbed other roommates. After washing up, Jiang Yi sat cross-legged on the bed and started his cultivation again. Replacing sleep with cultivation could not only increase his spirit power, but also warm and nourish the muscles that were sore from the afternoon's exercise. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed since Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan entered Lingshan Primary Academy. After confirming his cultivation plan, Jiang Yi had been following the process of the first day for 6 days straight. After confirming that it would not have a negative impact on his body, he planned to continue implementing it in the future. He would formulate a new plan after reaching a new stage. Brother Jiang Yi, Jiang Nanan, dressed in a white cotton robe and looking like a carved jade statue, called out to Jiang Yi in front with a smile. Nanan, Jiang Yi, wearing a black cotton robe, responded with a faint smile. "Let's go home quickly." Jiang Nanan ran to his side impatiently, holding Jiang Yi's arm. Okay, let's go back as soon as possible. We haven't been back for so many days. Aunt Ru must miss our Nanan." Jiang Yi laughed. Hee, Mom must miss me." Jiang Nanan showed a cute smile. The 2 of them walked hand in hand, leaving Lingshan Primary Academy and heading towards home. Although they hadn't been to that house for long, wherever Aunt Ru and they were, it was home. Walking quickly, the two of them returned to the gate of their own courtyard after 5 minutes. Before they even entered the courtyard, a gentle voice called out, "Nanan Zairoyi." Mom, seeing Aunt Ru who had been waiting at the gate for a long time, Jiang Nanan ran over. Aunt Ru hugged Jiang Nanan, her eyes filled with deep longing. When a child misses their mother, how could a mother not miss her child? After hugging for a while, Aunt Ru held their hands and said while walking, "The food is ready, all the things you love to eat." Being pulled by her, Jiang Yi also revealed a long-lost warm smile. After eating, Jiang Nanan stayed with Aunt Ru while he left the courtyard. Soon, Jiang Yi arrived at an area covered with blue-silver grass. This was also one of the purposes of his day off, to try mimicry cultivation. He had wanted to try it back at the academy. Who knew that the primary academy didn't have a cultivation room at all? Even the blue-silver grass that had almost covered the entire school when it was built had been cleared away as weeds. This left Jiang Yi, who was originally the most capable of performing mimicry cultivation, unable to try it within the academy. Finally, I can try mimicry cultivation, and there happens to be sunlight. Sitting directly in the middle of the grass, Jiang Yi closed his eyes, and blue-silver grass condensed in his palm. This time, driven by spirit power, the blue-silver grass slowly extended to the ground, mixing with the other blue-silver grass, indistinguishable from each other. His blue-silver grass emitted a faint light, like a fire in the night, attracting the surrounding blue-silver grass. The surrounding blue-silver grass, which had almost no consciousness, slowly leaned against his body. As the blue-silver grass connected together, the light was also constantly transmitted. In an instant, a large area of surrounding blue-silver grass lit up, and the blue-silver grass that had not yet been infected swayed their bodies, ready to move. Chapter 8 Group Photosynthesis, Attempting Communication. In the sky, the sun radiated its brilliance, illuminating all things in the world and nourishing their growth. On the ground, a vast patch of blue-silver grass all emitted a faint light, gathering together like a dazzling sun. Jiang Yi, located in the center of the blue-silver grass, was likewise covered by the light. Everything seemed unchanged. It had merely become brighter. The next second, Jiang Yi's body trembled. The surrounding blue-silver grass suddenly released a terrifying suction force. This suction force was not directed at the surrounding objects, but rather at the sunlight. Under the influence of this suction, the surrounding space actually dimmed, resembling the night, but it only lasted for an instant before returning to normal. Jiang Yi in the center of the meadow had his eyes tightly shut, his brows furrowed, and his body was trembling slightly, as if enduring some kind of pain. Time ticked by and the sun gradually reached its zenith. At this moment, Jiang Yi finally opened his eyes slowly, his eyes filled with joy. Because in the training just now, his blue-silver grass had connected with the other blue-silver grass, not only establishing a trace of communication, but it had also transmitted the effects of photosynthesis to the other blue-silver grass. And this situation had directly elevated the effects of photosynthesis to an extremely terrifying level. In an instant, it converted a massive amount of spirit power, which surged into his body. That was why he felt pain. After all, the spirit power cultivated this time far exceeded the spirit power he had cultivated in the previous 6 days. He had not yet completely refined this spirit power. With such a massive amount of spirit power, it would take him at least 5 or 6 days to fully refine it. However, even so, the results obtained were far superior to normal training. Because if fully refined, the increase in his spirit power would far exceed that of normal training. Even a genius with innate full spirit power could not possibly increase their spirit power by this much in such a short time. And he only had 0.1 level innate spirit power, and his spirit had been awakened for less than 10 days. To be able to increase so much spirit power in such a short time was already shocking enough. I didn't expect that photosynthesis could actually have this kind of usage. It was too late when I tried mimetic training. If I had found a place with blue-silver grass to train earlier, my spirit power wouldn't still be stuck at 0.1 level. Thinking of this, Jiang Yi felt a bit distressed again. Moreover, this doesn't seem to be my limit. Jiang Yi stood up and looked at the patch of blue-silver grass at his feet. He saw that a large area of grass around him was now drooping, looking very wilted, while the other blue-silver grass remained full of vitality. These wilted blue-silver grass were all connected to my blue-silver grass just now, participating in photosynthesis, which is why this situation occurred. If just a portion of the blue-silver grass already had such a powerful effect, what if it were all of them? Jiang Yi's eyes lit up as he looked at the surrounding blue-silver grass. How can I get more blue-silver grass to join in my photosynthesis? Perhaps the key is mental force. In just an instant, Jiang Yi thought of the most crucial point. When his blue-silver grass connected with the other blue-silver grass, he could clearly feel the faint, joyful emotions transmitted to him by those blue-silver grass. The blue-silver grass that had just connected was the limit of his spirit's spontaneous connection. So if he infused his mental force into his spirit, could he expand this range further? Let's do it. Thinking of this, Jiang Yi sat cross-legged on the ground and began to test his idea. The condensed blue-silver grass merged into it once again, and Jiang Yi, sitting on the ground, focused his mind to control his mental force to surge toward his spirit. As his mental force fused with his spirit, the world instantly became completely different. He seemed to have transformed into a real blue-silver grass. As a breeze blew by, his soul seemed to sway with the wind. What a wonderful feeling, Jiang Yi couldn't help but exclaim. However, he did not forget the main task. He tentatively spread his mental force outward to communicate with those blue-silver grass. Tired, exhausted, want to sleep. Weak thoughts rang out in his mind. These were the thoughts transmitted by the blue-silver grass that had participated in photosynthesis just now. Through his mental force, Jiang Yi conveyed soothing thoughts, and immediately those blue-silver grass that were still complaining of fatigue calmed down. They are so easy to coax, their intelligence is still too low. At this, Jiang Yi smiled. His mental force continued to spread outward, and soon he made contact with those blue-silver grass that had not participated in photosynthesis. Adoration, intimacy, these were the newly transmitted thoughts. To have such high favorability thoughts right from the start, no wonder it was so easy to complete group photosynthesis. Most of these blue-silver grass are only 10 years old, so weak that they have almost no intelligence. Although my blue-silver grass isn't strong either, combined with my extraordinary mental force, it appears very strong. Perhaps these blue-silver grass treat my blue-silver grass as a king. Thinking of this, Jiang Yi's eyes lit up. Then with a thought, he transmitted another thought. Submit. Instantly, all the blue-silver grass present bowed toward the center, like subjects kneeling before a monarch. All the blue-silver grass present, without almost any hesitation, expressed feelings of submission. As the thoughts of submission echoed in his mind, Jiang Yi's own blue-silver grass lit up with a barely perceptible blue light at this moment. Jiang Yi's body trembled, and he suddenly widened his eyes, his gaze devoid of any luster. The scene in his eyes underwent a world-shaking change. A sturdy, massive plant radiating blue-gold light lived quietly in a deep valley. The image flashed by, Jiang Yi's eyes regained their luster, his body went limp, and he simply lay directly on the grass. Lying on the grass, Jiang Yi's face was pale and his brows were furrowed. That instant just now had almost completely exhausted his mental force. What exactly was that thing just now? The suddenly appearing image left him somewhat confused. That image appeared amidst the blue-silver grass's thoughts of submission. Was this a trigger condition, or was it one of the conditions? Jiang Yi pondered for a while, regained the ability to move, but still did not reach a conclusion. Thinking aimlessly was just a waste of time. It would be better to try and find the reason when he could attempt it again. It's getting late, time to go home. He stood up and walked forward. Since photosynthesis has such a powerful effect, I must use mimetic training for every future training session. That way, I can increase my training speed to the maximum. If it really doesn't work out at the academy, I'll just have to apply for day student status. With Uncle Shi as my background, it should be doable. Walking on the way home, Jiang Yi secretly made a decision in his heart. Chapter 9: Theory of Secondary Awakening of Beast Spirit Bloodlines. After the day off, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan returned to Lingshan Primary Academy, settling back into their peaceful academic life. For the first few days after returning, Jiang Yi set aside other training and focused all his energy on refining the spirit power within his body. Under these circumstances, the refinement of his spirit power went very smoothly, allowing his spirit power to improve a little. Even with the help of group photosynthesis, the cultivation of his spirit power still had a long way to go. Having dealt with the spirit power in his body, Jiang Yi immediately returned to his cultivation. At night, Jiang Yi came to the library once again. The librarian Auntie Chen sat at her desk, feeling bored. Last week, Jiang Yi had come to read every day, and she had thought she finally had a regular companion for this period. Unexpectedly, after the day off, Jiang Yi had not come by again. Sigh, this job as a librarian, while leisurely, is not easy to do, Auntie Chen sighed. Auntie Chen, what are you saying? Suddenly, a voice filled with a smile came over. Hearing the voice, Auntie Chen's sighing expression changed instantly. She turned her head and, upon seeing the person, immediately smiled. Zyro Yi, forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Long time no see, Auntie Chen. I had some business to attend to over the past 2 days, so I haven't been able to come read. Now that the matter is resolved, I've come back, Jiang Yi said with a faint smile. Through their interactions last week, Jiang Yi had already become familiar with this librarian. So that's why you were busy, Auntie Chen said, suddenly enlightened. Auntie Chen, I've finished reading these 2 books. Could you please register them as returned? I'm going to look for some other books to read. Jiang Yi returned the books he had previously borrowed. All right, go ahead, Auntie Chen happily took the books. Arriving at the bookshelf, Jiang Yi took out the catalogue to look for some useful books. The 2 books he had just returned were not the basic knowledge of Spirit Masters and the Spirit Beast Compendium he had borrowed at the beginning. With his mental force and the learning ability cultivated from countless exams in his past life, he had taken about 3 days to memorize all the knowledge inside. After all, the knowledge recorded in these 2 books did not truly encompass all knowledge and spirit beasts. How could such precious books exist in a library in a small border town? After finishing those 2 books, Jiang Yi began to choose books related to spirits and spirit tools to read. By now he had finished quite a few books. His gaze swept across the book catalogue, and finally, Jiang Yi's eyes locked onto the very bottom of the list, attracted by a book title. Compared to the other titles, this one seemed very strange. Because the ink was very fresh, as if it hadn't been written long ago, and even the name was unique. Theory of Secondary Awakening of Beast Spirit Bloodlines, with a few small supplementary characters at the back, incomplete. This book is interesting. Jiang Yi immediately became interested. According to the location marked in the catalogue, he quickly found this book on the shelf. Looking at the book in his hand, Jiang Yi felt that rather than calling it a book, it would be better to call it a notebook. Secondary Awakening of Beast Spirit Bloodlines. To think someone on the Douluo Continent is actually researching this, Jiang Yi was somewhat surprised. One must know that on the Douluo Continent, strength has always been respected, and the vast majority of spirit masters devote their energy to cultivation. Those capable of delving into this field of knowledge are absolutely few and far between. Even if there are spirit masters researching it, they are definitely those who struggle to reach the level of titled Douluo. And the disparity in strength further limits the development of spirit theory. Low-level spirit masters and high-level spirit masters have a world of difference in their understanding of spirits. Generally speaking, titled Douluo spirit masters are unwilling to share their understanding of spirits, which has caused spirit theory to remain almost stagnant. Although teacher Wang Yan of Shrek Academy also researches spirits, his focus seems to be more on the study of the characteristics of various spirits. Understanding the characteristics of various spirits and how they are utilized in combat. Yet this book actually approaches the research from the perspective of spirit bloodlines, which is truly eye-opening. Filled with curiosity, Jiang Yi opened the book. The opening of this book immediately presented its own theory. In the current world, the bloodlines of all beast spirits, including plant spirits, can be traced back to the bloodlines of powerful spirit beasts from ancient or even primordial times. During the inheritance process of spirits, the vast majority of descendants only inherit fragments of the original bloodline or even degenerate forms. However, this bloodline has not disappeared. It remains in the spirit master's body in a dormant or recessive state. The moment of spirit awakening is an opportunity to trigger the hidden bloodline within the body. The amount of bloodline that can be triggered determines the strength of the spirit and the amount of innate spirit power. 10,000 years ago, the ancestor of the Tang sect, Tang San, whose spirit was originally ordinary blue-silver grass, eventually evolved into the blue-silver emperor. This can prove that spirits contain powerful bloodlines. And my research is intended to use other methods to reawaken the spirit bloodline postnatally, prompting the spirit to undergo a secondary evolution. Seeing this, Jiang Yi frowned slightly. Having read the original works of Douluo Continent, he naturally knew the reason why Tang San was able to evolve his spirit into the blue-silver emperor. It was because he was the child of Yin, the blue-silver emperor. Therefore, using Tang San as an example obviously cannot prove that all beast spirits contain hidden powerful bloodlines. However, Jiang Yi did not put the book down. After all, the author had no way of knowing Tang San's background, so using him as an example was normal. After stating the author's fundamental theory, the next part naturally proposed his own method: how to help spirit masters complete the awakening of their spirit bloodline postnatally. The first half of the book described the author's process of experimentation, which contained a large amount of revisions. At the beginning, the author wanted to use medicine to facilitate the awakening. The reason for this idea was the legend of Tang San and others consuming immortal herbs. Therefore, he believed that Tang San was able to awaken the blue-silver emperor bloodline because of the immortal herbs. Others must also be able to complete bloodline awakening through immortal herbs. Undoubtedly, he failed. Immortal herbs were not something he could find, and ordinary herbs simply had no significant effect. Moreover, he himself was not an expert in preparing herbs or alchemy, so he could not fully utilize the effects of the herbs. After this attempt failed, the author did not give up and started a new attempt. This time, he started with the spirit master's body, as the spirit and the spirit master's body are inseparable. So he planned to use a method of pushing the body to its limits to trigger the bloodline's self-protection mechanism, ultimately activating the bloodline to complete the secondary awakening. Seeing this, Jiang Yi's eyes lit up. Because this theory was already very close to the body sex method of secondary awakening for body spirits. Chapter 10: Extreme Pressure Training Method. Who is Lai Lingyu? In his past life, Jiang Yi had read the original work of Douluo Roman III, Legend of the Dragon King. Naturally, he knew that for Tang Wulin to awaken his spirit into the blue-silver emperor, the help of his master, the body sect master, Mu Yi, was indispensable. It was through the extreme, high-pressure training method that Mu Yi allowed Tang Wulin to complete his bloodline awakening. However, Tang Wulin's success was built upon the foundation that he possessed the Golden Dragon King bloodline, had a body that was extremely durable, and had Mu Yi preparing medicinal meals for him, using highly nourishing ingredients. If this method were used on a spirit master from Douluo Roman II, could anyone really withstand it? Furthermore, even if they withstood it, could they really awaken their bloodline? After all, Tang Wulin possessed the blue-silver emperor bloodline, inherited from Tang San. With this question in mind, Jiang Yi continued reading. As expected, this method also failed. After the failure, it seemed the author did not continue his research for a long time. A large portion of the pages in the middle were scribbled over and rewritten, eventually being discarded entirely, and it wasn't until the latter part that orderly text appeared again. In the latter part, he proposed a new method. The new method was actually a combination of the first and second methods. However, this time the author became much more cautious. He did not try to achieve success in one go this time, but instead divided the awakening plan into 5 stages. Each stage involved different training to gradually improve physical fitness. Furthermore, in each stage, he formulated different medicinal meals and purchased various medicinal pills, striving to resolve the physical damage caused by the high-intensity training. When the author wrote down these plans, he was clearly very confident, and there were far fewer revisions than before. Stage 1 successful. Stage 2 successful. Stage 3 successful. Without a doubt, I am already on the path to success. My theory is correct. The handwriting was somewhat scribbled, and the author's emotions were filled with excitement. After each stage was successful, he recorded the changes that occurred in the experimenter's spirit. In the records, as the body was continuously pushed to its limits, and subsequently recovered, the spirit actually began to continuously release power. It not only gradually strengthened the body, but also caused the spirit to undergo some slight enhancement. Everything was originally developing in a positive direction, but when it reached the 4th stage, things changed. Because starting from the 4th stage, the training pressure was far greater than in the previous 3 stages. It was written in the book that the injuries the experimenter sustained during training could no longer be completely healed by ordinary medicinal meals and pills. Ultimately, this method also undoubtedly ended in failure. Moreover, the consequences of the failure were very serious. Although the experimenter was not in any life-threatening danger, he could no longer continue to cultivate in the future, and his cultivation could only remain stagnant at the starting point. On the last page of the book, a line of text was written. This theory is incomplete. It is not recommended for anyone to attempt it rashly. This, seeing the end, Jiang Yi also fell silent. It is easy to propose a theory, but when putting it into practice, there will be too many unexpected incidents. The author of this book tried 3 methods, and each one ended in failure. And almost every method cost him a painful price. Ultimately, it also caused one experimenter to suffer major physical problems, with his cultivation unable to advance even an inch. However, during the process of his experiments, the experimenter actually showed signs of bloodline awakening and spirit evolution. Could it be that a powerful bloodline is truly contained within a beast spirit? In the notes, the changes that occurred in the experimenter's body after undergoing 3 stages of training seem to have verified the author's theory. If it is true that a powerful bloodline exists within every beast spirit, if a low-level spirit master cannot withstand the extreme training, can a high-level spirit master awaken the spirit master bloodline within them through this method? Although Tang Wulin possessed the Golden Dragon King bloodline, his spirit power level at that time was not high, and his physical fitness certainly could not compare to that of a high-level spirit master. If Tang Wulin could withstand it and complete his secondary awakening, there is no reason a high-level spirit master should not be able to. Did this author not try it with a high-level spirit master, or was it simply not recorded? Furthermore, are there no other ways to awaken it besides extreme pressure training? No, the pressure that a high-level spirit master must endure must also be far beyond their own physical limits, otherwise it cannot be called extreme training. And it would be absolutely impossible to activate the bloodline within. After finishing this book, which could hardly be called a book, Jiang Yi fell into deep thought. If the experimenter the author found did not possess a bloodline passed down through the family like Tang San and Tang Wulin, then it could basically be proven that the author's theory was correct. Then, for a plant-type spirit master like Jiang Yi, this would be a huge opportunity. Naturally, he wanted to awaken the bloodline hidden within his own spirit. Looking at the very end of the book, in the bottom right corner, there was a line of small text. Written by Li Lingyu. Li Lingyu, I wonder who this person is. To be capable of such research, he shouldn't be a nobody, right? Jiang Yi thought somewhat curiously. With this confusion, Jiang Yi looked up at the time and then closed the book. For Jiang Yi, who had just stepped into the spirit master's world, such a theory was actually quite profound. He could judge the flaws in this theory through his God's eye perspective from having read the original work. But wanting to conjure up another method to promote the secondary awakening of a spirit bloodline out of thin air was almost impossible. Therefore, he did not intend to spend more time thinking about it, at least not now. After returning the book to its place, Jiang Yi came to Auntie Chen's side. Auntie Chen, I have something I would like to ask you. What is it? Auntie Chen asked in return. Around our academy, is there a relatively large blue-silver grass field? Jiang Yi asked expectantly. For the past 2 days, he had been refining the spirit power within his body. Now that the refining was complete, he naturally needed to find a place with plenty of blue-silver grass to conduct mimicry cultivation. A blue-silver grass field. If you are looking for that, there is a large patch behind our academy. Our academy was originally built on a mountain covered with a large amount of blue-silver grass, but the blue-silver grass inside the academy was cleared away. There are no buildings on the back mountain, so those blue-silver grass were not cleared, Auntie Chen recalled. A look of pleasant surprise flashed in Jiang Yi's eyes. As long as there was blue-silver grass, that was fine. This way, he wouldn't have to think of ways to apply to live off campus. Thank you, Auntie Chen, see you tomorrow. Jiang Yi thanked her and quickly ran out of the library. Hee, I don't know what this child is so happy about. Auntie Chen was a bit confused. Then she walked towards the place where Jiang Yi had just been reading. She wanted to check if there was anything that hadn't been tidied up. Looking at the bookshelves one by one, she soon arrived at the place where the book on beast spirit bloodline theory was kept. Sai, did Zyro you just read this book? Having been a librarian for so long, Auntie Chen could tell at a glance that the book had been moved. Teacher Lai has placed this book here for over 3 months now. I wonder when he will be back. Without him here writing books by himself and talking to himself, it really feels quite strange. Chapter 11, Grass Emperor, Spirit Power Body Tempering. The next day the sun had just risen, and sunlight spilled across the earth. At the back mountain of Lingshan Primary Academy, a small figure dressed in black was running forward continuously. Hugh, the morning air is truly fresh. Jiang Yi stopped his footsteps, took a deep breath, and sighed with emotion. Last night, after inquiring about the information from Auntie Chen, he had hurried to the back mountain without stopping the next morning. The spirit power converted for him by one group photosynthesis required at least 2 days for him to refine. Therefore, he wanted to conduct his second cultivation session as soon as he finished refining to maximize the effect. Jiang Yi slowly climbed up the back mountain, and soon, blue-silver grass covering the mountains and plains came into view. The blue-silver grass here is much more abundant than the previous patch of grass. Jiang Yi's eyes lit up, his face full of joy. Walking to the center of the grassland, Jiang Yi sat cross-legged on the ground without the slightest hesitation, making intimate contact with the blue-silver grass. His blue-silver grass condensed on his right hand, inserting into the ground to connect with the other blue-silver grass. Mental force was poured in again, and that feeling of becoming the blue-silver grass appeared once more. With the previous attempt, he very easily made the surrounding blue-silver grass submit. And the range was even larger than before. Dazzling blue light bloomed, and once again an incomparably powerful suction force violently devoured the surrounding light energy and heaven and earth essence. A massive amount of power surged into his body, and Jiang Yi immediately frowned. Just as he was about to refine a portion with all his might, a cold, mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Another achievement triggered. What did I do? Jiang Yi, who had been concentrating on refining, was momentarily confused. However, he did not let his attention be diverted. Dealing with the massive spirit power in his body was the real priority. The temperature began to rise gradually, and the dew hanging on the blue-silver grass almost completely evaporated. In the center of the grassland, Jiang Yi opened his eyes and stood up. Hugh, exhaling a breath of stale air deeply, Jiang Yi stretched his slightly bloated body. The spirit power absorbed this time is even more than before. I'm afraid I won't be able to refine it in 2 days. Looking up at the sky, Jiang Yi realized it was getting late. It's time to go back for morning classes. I'll check the achievement while walking. Leaving the back mountain with practiced ease, he ran towards the dormitory. He had to find Jiang Nanan before going to the classroom, otherwise he would be in for a scolding. At the same time, the description of the new achievement appeared in his mind. Detected that the host's blue-silver grass has caused over 1,000 blue-silver grass to submit. Achievement obtained. Achievement name, Grass Emperor. Your spirit unleashes an aura of dominance, causing over 1,000 blue-silver grass to submit. Your range of dominion has already exceeded the small courtyard in front of your home. Achievement reward, soldiers in every blade of grass. You can command the blue-silver grass within a 10-meter radius that has submitted to you to follow your orders and share their vision. Note, scales with the strengthening of mental force. 1,000 blue-silver grass. Does this include the ones I first came into contact with? This is actually an achievement reward that can grow alongside my mental force. Seeing that last line, Jiang Yi couldn't help but get excited. Things that can grow are undoubtedly very precious. When my mental force is strong enough in the future, all the blue-silver grass on the entire continent can become my soldiers and eyes. Perhaps in the future, I should plant blue-silver grass in every corner of the Douluo Continent, Jiang Yi couldn't help but imagine. Brother Jiang Yi, at this moment, Jiang Nanan's sweet voice came over. Coming, Jiang Yi immediately raised his hand in response. 2 days later in the afternoon, on an open stretch of flat ground, Jiang Yi was lying on the ground doing push-ups. His face was flushed red, and he looked quite uncomfortable. Every time he did one, his body would tremble. The surface of his skin seemed to have a layer of faint, milky white light continuously seeping into his body. The reason this situation occurred was not because Jiang Yi's body was too weak to do push-ups. It was because he was trying a new cultivation method, which was spirit power body tempering. When he first used group photosynthesis to absorb massive spirit power, he realized his own uniqueness. Ordinary spirit masters cannot condense much spirit power each time they cultivate, and it is almost immediately refined into the spirit master's cultivation. And the situation of having so much spirit power remaining in his body was extremely rare. In the original story of Hua Yuhao, it was because of the Snow Empress that a large amount of spirit power accumulated in his body. And because of the accumulation of so much spirit power, added to the injuries in his body, it even made Hua Yuhao a disabled person for a period of time. But now, he had a large amount of spirit power remaining in his body and could still move freely. Under these circumstances, Jiang Yi had a sudden thought that perhaps he didn't need to be in such a rush to refine the spirit power. Then he began his first attempt at exercising his body while carrying spirit power. Trying it like this, it actually produced unexpected results. When exercising the body, the Qi and blood fluctuate violently, which instinctively refines the residual spirit power in the body. During this process, the Qi and blood carry the spirit power to every corner of the body and slowly permeate into the internal organs, eventually being refined into cultivation. After one full cycle, the entire body was tempered. Although it was slower than normal refining, the strengthening it brought was immeasurable. While Jiang Yi was using spirit power body tempering, Jiang Nanan was also exercising with yoga by his side. With rank 8 innate spirit power, Jiang Nanan's spirit power was also constantly improving after this period of cultivation. However, she still needed more time to reach rank 9. While Jiang Yi and the others were exercising hard, at the gate of Lingshan Primary Academy, a tall figure draped in a grey robe with an unclear face appeared. Walking to the gate of the Primary Academy, this grey-robed figure with an unclear face did not receive any obstruction. The guard at the gate was even full of smiles as he opened the gate for the grey-robed person. After the grey-robed person entered the academy, he did not linger anywhere and walked straight towards the library at the southernmost part of the academy. Just as he stepped into the library, Auntie Chen heard heavy footsteps and turned her head. Upon seeing who it was, her face immediately showed joy. "Teacher Lei, you finally returned. How was it? Was this research successful?" Facing Auntie Chen's inquiry, the grey-robed figure with an unclear face finally decided to take off his large hat. Under the hat was a handsome face. Even though this person was unshaven and his long hair was unkempt, his handsomeness was already visible. His eyes were blue, carrying an irrepressible gloom within them. It was all right, you could say there was some progress. Teacher Lai barely squeezed out a smile. After the pleasantries, Teacher Lai walked towards the bookshelf in front and picked up a book. Flipping through it, Teacher Li's brows furrowed. "Has anyone read this book?" "Someone has read it. It's a new student of the academy who often comes here to read," Auntie Chen hurriedly said. "A new student," Teacher Lai repeated. Chapter 12, An Unexpected Person. In the blink of an eye, Saturday had arrived. After finishing the Saturday morning classes, the weekend break had arrived again, and the students in the class were very excited. Sitting in his seat, Jiang Yi was intently reading a book titled The Origin of Spirits. After finishing that book from the library, he had developed a great interest in books related to spirits. This book speculated on the origins of spirits from dozens of perspectives and proposed many interesting theories. For example, that humans are actually descendants of spirit beasts, and that ancient humans would also generate spirit rings after death. Of course, these were all just guesses. None of them had been experimentally verified. The author of the book even wrote at the beginning that he was just doing it for fun, writing down things he had fantasized about. However, this book was not entirely baseless speculation. In one section, the author proposed a theory that spirits originate from bloodlines and souls, which seemed quite reasonable. Bloodline and soul are the foundations of a spirit's birth. Bloodline determines the innate form of a spirit. For example, members of the Clear Sky sect will awaken the Clear Sky Hammer spirit, and the angel family will awaken the angel spirit. And the soul influences the acquired form of the spirit. It is precisely because of this that spirit mutations occur. Of course, in some special cases, bloodlines can also cause spirit mutations. This theory made Jiang Yi unable to help but connect it with that theory of secondary awakening of beast spirit bloodlines. The three experimental methods Lai Lingyu had always used, in the final analysis, acted upon the body, which is to say, upon the bloodline. Then what about the other element that constitutes and influences a spirit, the soul? In his experiments, it seemed it had never been involved. If one were to approach it from both the bloodline and soul aspects, could another method be developed to completely awaken the bloodline hidden within a spirit? Furthermore, regarding the bloodline aspect, Lai Lingyu's experimental method was not perfect. Simple limit training required using pressure exceeding what the human body could withstand to trigger the bloodline self-protection. This was a brute force method. If it could not succeed, then it was a complete failure, bringing about extremely serious consequences. There must be a better way to awaken a spirit bloodline than limit training to trigger bloodline self-protection, ultimately stimulating the bloodline. In this process, there must be other things that can supplement it, other things that can trigger the bloodline. Regarding this question, Jiang Yi fell into deep thought. The excited and noisy sounds of the surrounding students did not affect him. What is the one thing that spirit masters on the Douluo Continent do throughout their lives after embarking on cultivation? What is most important for a spirit master's increase in strength? Thinking from this perspective, combined with the theories Jiang Yi had seen from various netizens and novels in his past life. Before transmigrating, he completely disbelieved the theories in novels. After all, they were just worlds in novels. But now that he had transmigrated, it meant that the worlds in the novels were real, and the theories naturally had their own logic. He soon had an answer. Other things that could trigger a spirit bloodline were undoubtedly spirit rings and spirit bones, and they had to be spirit bones of the same origin or attribute. If one could trace back to the ancient form of the spirit, and obtain the corresponding spirit rings and spirit bones of the spirit beast, the effect would undoubtedly be even more powerful. However, this situation basically only existed in fantasy. After all, on the Douluo Continent, those ancient spirit beasts had all mostly gone extinct. Even the true dragon spirit beasts were only left with Dai Tian and Zai Jai. Suitable spirit rings and spy. Spirit bones are key, starting from the first spirit ring, fuse with suitable spirit rings and spirit bones. This can make the bloodline hidden in the body become more active. Under these circumstances, if one subsequently carries out training in a gradual manner, could it make a secondary awakening of the bloodline easier? Jiang Yi's eyes shone brightly. He felt that this idea was undoubtedly correct. It was just like Yu Xiaorogang's Liu Sanpao, which could transform into a golden holy dragon after fusing with the spirits of two other people. In reality, it was also through fusing with other suitable spirit bloodlines that the golden holy dragon bloodline hidden within the spirit was stimulated. Fusing suitable spirit rings and spirit bones into the body was a much closer connection than spirit fusion. It could certainly achieve the same, or even superior, effects. Just as he was rejoicing over this, Jiang Nanan patted his hand. "Brother Jiang Yi, it's time for class." "Oh right," Jiang Yi immediately reacted. This class was already the last one of the morning. He could rest after finishing it peacefully. The bell for class rang, and some students were still whispering in low voices. At this moment, a teacher wearing a grey robe walked in from the door. Without saying a word, just the faint aura emanating from his body made the students who were still talking shudder. Jiang Yi looked at the grey-robed teacher who had entered, his eyes narrowing slightly. He could tell at a glance that this teacher was not simple. The temperament and powerful aura on his body were all evidence of that. This teacher is definitely a high-level spirit master. To think such a figure would be at a primary academy. But why haven't I seen him come to teach before? The grey-robed person arrived at the podium and calmly swept his gaze over the students in the class. "My name is Lai Lingyu, and I am your spirit theory teacher. I had to go out for some matters previously and only returned today. Logically speaking, this class should not be offered at a primary academy, so there will be no exams for this class, nor will I ask questions. Those who are interested can listen to me, those who are not can quietly cultivate." Li Lingyu said calmly and began the lecture. Other students looked at each other, but Jiang Yi's pupils had already dilated, and he was staring intently at Lai Lingyu on the platform. "Li Lingyu, his name is Lai Lingyu. Is he that author, or is it just a coincidence? If he really was that author, he would never have imagined that such a person could be a teacher at Lingshan Primary Academy." Jiang Yi watched Lai Lingyu lecturing to himself on the podium and began to listen carefully to the content of his lecture. The more he listened, the more he felt that the Lai Lingyu on the podium and the author Li Lingyu were the same person. The knowledge he taught was not overly profound and could be easily understood by those listening carefully. In addition, he would also incorporate some profound understandings of spirits into it. Secretly noting down the knowledge, the time for the class quickly passed just like that. The bell rang for the end of class, but no one in the class dared to move. "Class dismissed," Lai Lingyu said, then turned and left. Jiang Yi looked at his departing back, already completely certain that this person was the author who wrote that book. "I must find a time to talk with Teacher Li." The things that Lai Lingyu researched would undoubtedly be of great help to him if he could successfully awaken his spirit bloodline. Then his problem of low innate spirit power could be easily solved. Chapter 13, Inquiries and Academic Exchange. Li Lingyu left, and the students in the class became lively again, excitedly packing up their things and running towards the academy entrance. "Brother Jiang Yi, what are you thinking about? Let's hurry home, I want to eat the food Mom made." Seeing Jiang Yi seemingly lost in thought, Jiang Nanan shook his hand and acted coquettishly. Jiang Yi snapped back to reality and immediately smiled, saying, "All right, let's go home first." The matter of seeking out Lai Lingyu could not be rushed. He had to think it over before making a decision. In the afternoon, after returning home and having dinner, Jiang Yi went to sit in the courtyard. Looking up at the sky, Jiang Yi's eyes were filled with contemplation. He did not know whether he should go find Lai Lingyu. The beast spirit bloodline awakening theory that Lai Lingyu was researching was undoubtedly what he needed most right now. Moreover, judging from Lai Lingyu's notes, he was definitely someone extremely obsessed with theoretical research. And even after experiencing so many failures, his pursuit of this theory had not ceased. Instead, it had become even stronger. This point could be confirmed by the knowledge he inadvertently revealed while lecturing. If he could present knowledge that would be helpful to his research, he would inevitably gain his attention, and thereby obtain the resources he needed. Additionally, from the end of that notebook, Lai Lingyu warned readers not to rashly attempt his theories. It also seemed to show that he was not an evil person. However, when it came to matters of human character, one could not make decisions lightly. Perhaps I can go ask Auntie Chen and find out about Teacher Li's character. Since Lai Lingyu's book could be placed in the library, Auntie Chen must surely know him. After making the decision, Jiang Yi did not hesitate. He stood up, told Aunt Ru, and then headed towards Lingshan Primary Academy. Although the students were on break, most teachers and staff had not left the school, as many of them lived in housing provided by the academy. Upon arriving at the academy, Jiang Yi headed straight for the library. Entering the library as expected, Auntie Chen had not left and was still working there. "Xiao Yi, why are you here at this time?" Looking at Jiang Yi, who had come to the library even after the break started, Auntie Chen asked with confusion. Jiang Yi said with a smile on his face, "Auntie Chen, there is something I would like to ask you about." "You child, why do you have so many questions? Go ahead and say it." Although the words were a complaint, Auntie Chen's tone was full of smiles. There was no sign of dissatisfaction at all. "Do you know the teacher in the academy named Lai Lingyu?" Jiang Yi asked hurriedly. "Teacher Li, why are you asking about him?" Auntie Chen asked curiously. Before Jiang Yi could explain, she suddenly realized and said, "Right, Teacher Lai is your spirit theory teacher, isn't he? No wonder you're asking about him." "That's right, so I wanted to learn a little about Teacher Li," Jiang Yi agreed. "In that case, I'll tell you about him," Auntie Chen said. Speaking of Teacher Li, it starts from 2 years ago, when Teacher Lai first arrived at our academy. However, he didn't come here normally. He was saved by our dean. At the time, I heard from other teachers that he seemed to have suffered very serious injuries. He stayed here to recuperate for a full 5 months before he recovered. After waking up, he became a teacher at the academy. I imagine only the dean knows the reason behind that, Auntie Chen recalled. Suffered heavy injuries, could it be because of his experiments? Jiang Yi's eyes flashed with speculation. In Lai Lingyu's experiments, there was an experimental subject who ended up unable to cultivate. Could he have been retaliated against? Unaware of Jiang Yi's inner speculations, Auntie Chen continued. After becoming a teacher at our academy, Teacher Lai rarely taught classes. He often went out, though I don't know what research he was doing. After finishing his research, he would come to the library and keep writing and drawing there. Sometimes he would even talk to himself. That book you saw a few days ago was placed here by him. I even added that book to the catalogue. Forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Jiang Yi nodded slightly and then continued to ask, "Then, what do you think of Teacher Li's character?" "Naturally, it is excellent. Although he has some peculiarities, he is very good to the people around him. When others are in trouble, although his expression doesn't change, he always provides help behind the scenes." When Auntie Chen said this, her face carried a look of gratitude, sincere and heartfelt. By this time, Jiang Yi had basically figured out Lai Lingyu's character. Li Lingyu liked coming to the library, and Auntie Chen's understanding of him was basically enough to confirm his character. Since that's the case, my last concerns are gone. Then I will go find this Teacher Lai and have an academic exchange. After making the decision, Jiang Yi asked Auntie Chen again, "Auntie Chen, do you know at what time Teacher Lai usually comes to the library?" After reading his book last time, I have some questions I would like to ask him about. "Oh, that, after Teacher Lai returned some time ago, he comes every night around 6 o'clock, Auntie Chen said after thinking for a moment. Having obtained the information he wanted, Jiang Yi expressed his gratitude and left the library. At night, Lai Lingyu, dressed in a grey robe, arrived at the library on time as usual. He was unaware of the conversation between Jiang Yi and Auntie Chen. During these few months away from the academy, he had been conducting investigations and research all over the Douluo Continent. After his extreme training method failed, he had been seeking a solution to the drawback where the human body could not withstand intense pressure. Unfortunately, no matter how he searched, he struggled to find a way. To achieve a secondary bloodline awakening, the immense pressure that the human body must withstand is difficult for normal people to reach. Through his research, he discovered that the limit point for secondary bloodline awakening is different for spirit masters at different stages. Therefore, if a high-level spirit master were to use the extreme training method to awaken their bloodline, the pressure they would have to endure would definitely far exceed their physical constitution. This leads to the fact that if a spirit master cannot ensure their physical constitution far exceeds their own spirit power, it is impossible to survive the extreme training method. After realizing this, he had to give up on solving the drawbacks of the extreme training method by improving physical constitution. Trying to make one's physical constitution far exceed their spirit power level is simply too difficult. It is almost impossible to accomplish. To achieve this, what is needed most is a spirit bone, and a high-year spirit bone at that. Only then can one maximize the improvement of physical constitution. And the rarity of spirit bones means they are simply not easy to possess. After determining it was not feasible, he began seeking other solutions. The first thing he researched was spirit awakening. After all, that was the only method he knew of that could trigger the spirit bloodline without injury. Chapter 14: Methods for Increasing Activity. He spent several months traveling across the Douluo Continent, helping age-appropriate children awaken their spirits. The reason he had to look far instead of near was that in this era, spirit awakening was restricted. If discovered by the authorities, he would easily face sanctions. Traveling across the continent to those small villages to help children of the right age awaken their spirits allowed him to avoid issues with the authorities. In those few months, he helped nearly 300 children of the right age awaken their spirits. Among them, fewer than 20 successfully awakened spirit power. He observed and recorded the process of everyone's spirit awakening and asked in detail about their feelings when their spirits awakened. He attempted to discover the mystery of how bloodlines could be triggered during spirit awakening. Unfortunately, he still failed. Even though he recorded every detail he observed and asked over and over again, he still did not discover any clues. With his cultivation as a spirit emperor, he simply could not see what exactly happened during spirit awakening that caused the bloodline to be triggered, ultimately awakening a spirit and spirit power. However, this was perfectly normal. After all, if a spirit emperor like him could see through spirit awakening, then the secrets contained within spirits would likely have been completely unearthed long ago, and there would be no need for him to research them. Under these circumstances, he could not help but fall into a temporary state of depression, because his cultivation could no longer be improved. In his notes, he mentioned the experimental processes of 3 methods in total. For the first 2 methods, he did not look for test subjects but tried them himself. Those immature methods were all applied to his own body, which also caused him to be unable to cultivate, stagnating at the spirit emperor level. He had originally thought that the third method, conducted in a gradual manner, could be paused in time even if errors occurred. However, after the first 3 stages were completed, the results shown went to their heads, and in the end, at the 4th stage, they paid a heavy price. Arriving at his seat in the library, Lai Lingyu took a notebook and a large stack of materials out of his spirit tool. After the method of observing spirit awakening failed, he intended to continue his research from other aspects. Even if it took his entire life, he was determined to find a way to stably awaken beast spirit bloodlines. This direction had failed, so he intended to start researching from another direction. Li Lingyu began writing in his notebook, his expression incredibly focused, reviewing the materials and occasionally muttering to himself. Just at this moment, Jiang Yi had already arrived at the entrance of the library. It is about 6 o'clock now. If there are no surprises, Teacher Lai should be inside. Without hesitation, he walked directly into the library. Just after stepping inside, a light breeze blew past in front of him. Li Lingyu, who had just been in his seat, had already appeared in front of Jiang Yi. Li Lingyu looked at Jiang Yi expressionlessly and asked calmly, "You are a student of the academy, and the academy is already on break. Why are you still here?" Seeing Li Lingyu appear suddenly, Jiang Yi was also startled. However, he quickly calmed down and replied, "Teacher, I am looking for you." "Looking for me?" Li Lingyu's eyes flashed, his face showing confusion. He had just returned to Lingshan Primary Academy and had basically no contact with the students, so why had someone suddenly come to find him? However, this was a student of the academy after all, and as a teacher, he naturally could not drive the student away. "What is the matter?" Li Lingyu thought for a moment and finally said, "I previously read that book you wrote about the secondary awakening of beast spirit bloodlines. I am very interested in some of the content inside, and I also have some insights. So I would like to have an exchange with you." Jiang Yi expressed his purpose very directly. For someone like Li Lingyu, who was obsessed with spirit theory, being direct was actually the best approach. Hearing Jiang Yi's words, Li Lingyu's calm expression could not help but change, and his eyes were full of suspicion. He had read his book and even had his own insights. He scanned Jiang Yi up and down, confirming that this was just an ordinary 6-year-old child, and his spirit power was even quite weak. Could such a child really understand his notebook? I know, Teacher Lei, you are skeptical. How about you listen to my thoughts before coming to a conclusion? When you are researching, don't you also have to go through experiments before you can draw conclusions? Knowing that Lai Lingyu did not trust him, Jiang Yi still said with a smile. Li Lingyu looked deeply at Jiang Yi, then slowly nodded and said, "You certainly have courage. Come over and tell me." The corners of Jiang Yi's mouth curled up slightly. The first step had already succeeded. Coming to the seat and sitting down, Lai Lingyu closed his notebook. "You said you have read my book, so I have a question I want to ask you. How do you think the sea god Tang San awakened his spirit bloodline? If it was the extreme training method, then how did he endure it?" The question Lai Lingyu asked was actually not answered in his book. After all, no matter how much he researched, he could not know what happened 10,000 years ago. The reason he asked this was because he wanted to test Jiang Yi. If Jiang Yi had truly read it, he could use the knowledge in the book to answer this question, which would naturally prove Jiang Yi's words. If he could not answer, then there was no need to listen to what followed. The reason Tang San was able to awaken his bloodline was that his mother was a 100,000-year blue-silver emperor. According to the theory in your book, everyone has the bloodlines of powerful ancient spirit beasts hidden within them, only they have fallen into a recessive state. Then, as the child of a spirit beast, the bloodline contained in his body did not fall into that state due to long-term inheritance. So his awakening of the bloodline should not have been achieved by using the extreme training method. As for what method it was, I am afraid only Tang San himself knows, Jiang Yi answered without the slightest hesitation. Hearing his answer, Lai Lingyu showed an expression of keen interest. He had not expected Jiang Yi to answer this question from another perspective. Regarding the matter of Tang San awakening his spirit bloodline, actually, after in-depth research, he had also had thoughts on this aspect. The child born from the union of a human and a transformed spirit beast would inevitably have a more active spirit beast bloodline within them. Awakening the bloodline would certainly become much easier. It was a pity that transformed spirit beasts were not common to begin with, let alone transformed spirit beasts that had united with humans. This resulted in him always wanting to research it, but being unable to find a sample. Lai Lingyu nodded in approval. "Tell me about the matter you want to discuss with me." Jiang Yi smiled and said, "Of course. After reading that book, I guess what you most want to solve is how to reduce the intensity of the extreme training method. To maintain the human body in a limit state where it can recover and complete the bloodline awakening, right?" "Correct." Hearing Jiang Yi's question, Lai Lingyu suddenly sat up straight. Clearly, he had begun to take Jiang Yi's words seriously. The biggest problem with the extreme training method was that to fully awaken the bloodline, one had to reach the limit of limits. And if that was the case, it would inevitably leave irreversible damage within the body. Even if one achieved this step, it was not certain that the bloodline could be awakened, and in the end, one would be left with injuries all over. Pointing out his thoughts with a single needle, Jiang Yi clearly truly had his own insights. He had always believed that his extreme training method was correct, and the reason he could not succeed was that a certain key point was missing. However, after a long time of research, he had not found a solution. I believe the reason this situation occurs is still because the bloodline within the body, after long-term inheritance, has activity that is close to nil. Simple extreme training might be able to activate a portion, but to fully activate it, the success rate is truly too low. So, I thought of a method, which is to first increase the activity of the bloodline within the body before the extreme training method, and then try to use the extreme training method to activate the bloodline. How can one increase the activity of the bloodline within the body? As soon as Jiang Yi finished speaking, Lai Lingyu stood up abruptly and asked impatiently. "Spirit rings and spirit bones," Jiang Yi also answered readily. These two things are fused within the spirit master's body and have the closest connection with the spirit master, which can influence the bloodline to the greatest extent. Tracing one's own bloodline, and searching for the most suitable spirit rings and spirit bones, things of the same origin will inevitably resonate. I once heard that Tang Sen originally awakened his bloodline only after fusing with a spirit ring completely condensed from blue-silver grass energy. So I believe that the more things of the same origin, the higher the activity will become, even if there are spirit rings and spirit bones produced by the spirit beast that is the source of the spirit bloodline. Then one could even achieve it in one step, directly awakening the bloodline hidden within the body. Standing there dumbfounded, the excitement in Lai Lingyu's eyes seemed as if it could overflow. Various emotions flashed through his eyes: annoyance, joy, and most of all, remorse. Spirit rings and spirit bones, it really should be spirit rings and spirit bones. Why did I never think of it? If I had thought of it sooner, then Linyu would not have. Lai Lingyu's tone was full of unwillingness and remorse. He had previously entered a misunderstanding, believing that as long as one added strength spirit rings, improved physical fitness, and withstood the extreme training, one could complete the awakening. He had never considered the aspect of fusing with spirit rings and spirit bones of the same origin. It could only be said that he was too close to the situation to see it clearly. The voice of the following words was too low, and Jiang Yi could not hear clearly. Jiang Yi looked at the dazed Lai Lingyu, chose not to disturb him, and sat quietly in his seat. About 3 minutes later, Lai Lingyu stopped muttering to himself. His face became extremely serious, and he asked Jiang Yi, "Did you think of all this yourself?" "Correct," Jiang Yi admitted it directly without the slightest evasion. Li Lingyu stared at Jiang Yi's expression, then let out a long sigh. "I never expected that in a small place like Lingshan City, there could actually appear a genius of spirit theory like you." Chapter 15, Plan Successful, Getting on the Right Track. In the dimly lit library, two figures, one large and one small, stared at each other. "Child, would you be willing to take me as your master?" Lai Lingyu said solemnly. He believed that encountering Jiang Yi, a theoretical genius, at this time was an opportunity granted to him by the heavens. Therefore he had to seize it. With Jiang Yi's help, he would surely be able to research the correct method for the secondary awakening of beast spirit bloodlines. Hearing this, a strange feeling welled up in Jiang Yi's heart. For some reason, he felt that this scene gave him a sense of déjà vu, like Tang Sen taking Yu Xiaogang as his master. The difference was that this time, the one talking about theory was the apprentice. In this situation, Jiang Yi subconsciously asked, "Teacher Lei, may I ask what your spirit power rank is?" Li Lingyu was taken aback, then replied, "I am a level 65 Spirit Emperor." A Spirit Emperor, Jiang Yi's eyes lit up. This strength was far greater than Yu Xiaorogang's strength as a Spirit Grandmaster. His primary purpose in coming to find Lai Lingyu this time was to obtain resources from him. Becoming Lai Lingyu's apprentice could also be considered a way to achieve this goal. Before coming, he had already learned about Lai Lingyu's character, and coupled with his strength as a Spirit Emperor, he was undoubtedly a very suitable teacher for him. Crossing over to Douluo Continent, to be honest, his background was not very good. His parents had died one after another. If it weren't for Aunt Ru being willing to take him in, and the spirit awakening opportunity his father had left behind, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call his start a disastrous one. Without the system later on, he wouldn't even have had spirit power, and he wouldn't have been able to become a spirit master. Moreover, he was also clear that being able to enjoy his current treatment was all because of Jiang Nanan. Now that there was a spirit emperor willing to take him as an apprentice, he naturally would not miss such a good opportunity. A spirit emperor could solve the vast majority of the troubles he was currently facing. "Teacher," Jiang Yi immediately changed how he addressed him and bowed to Lai Lingyu. "Good rise." A smile finally appeared on Lai Lingyu's stern face at this moment. Then Lai Lingyu looked at Jiang Yi as if he wanted to say something, but a trace of embarrassment flashed across his face, and he asked, "Ahem, apprentice, what is your name?" "My name is Jiang Yi." Jiang Yi felt somewhat helpless at this moment. They had become master and apprentice without even knowing each other's names. It seemed that this matter was truly a bit hasty. "Good, then I will call you Zyro Yi from now on. Since you have become my apprentice, there is no need to continue attending academy classes. Follow me for cultivation from now on, and I will explain this matter to the dean. Also, where do you live? I will pay a visit tomorrow. The matter of you becoming my apprentice needs to be communicated to your parents. Li Lingyu thought for a moment and added. Although he was obsessed with theoretical research, he still understood social conventions. Hearing his words, Jiang Yi was surprised that he actually had such thoughts. It seems that this teacher of mine is not entirely immersed in spirit theory and oblivious to the world. Subsequently, he stated his home address. It was indeed better to let Aunt Ru and Jiang Nanan know about him taking a master. Otherwise, if he stopped attending classes at school, Jiang Nanan would certainly not be happy. It is still early now. Continue to elaborate on your insights, and let us discuss matters regarding enhancing bloodline activity. After saying this, Li Lingyu spoke impatiently, returning to his state of obsession with theory. Jiang Yi naturally would not refuse this request. It just so happened that he also lacked the basic theories of spirit research. After all, these were things he could not have learned in his past life. During their exchange, he could just happen to make up for this deficiency and lay a good foundation for more in-depth research in the future. The reason he said this was because he felt that even with suitable spirit rings and spirit bones, plus the extreme training method, the probability of awakening hidden bloodlines would not be very high. The spirit master system of Douluo Continent had developed for so many years. Surely someone must have once fused with the spirit rings and spirit bones most suitable for themselves. Perhaps they had also experienced extreme pressure, yet people who awakened their bloodlines and completed spirit evolution were still not common. This situation was enough to prove the point. At noon inside the house, Jiang Yi, Jiang Nanan, and Aunt Ru were all dressed neatly, waiting for Li Lingyu's arrival. Brother Jiang Yi, will you really not be able to attend classes with me anymore? Jiang Nanan asked, pouting. I'm sorry, Nanan, we can't attend classes together anymore, but as soon as I finish my cultivation, I will immediately come to find you, Jiang Yi coaxed her gently. Then you must come find Nanan to play, okay? Jiang Nanan, having received the promise, nodded obediently. Aunt Ru looked at her two children with a gentle smile on her face, her eyes full of gratification. Of her two children, one had awakened with innate level 8 spirit power, and the other had very low innate spirit power, yet he had been taken as an apprentice by a spirit emperor. Although she didn't know why that spirit emperor would be willing to take Jiang Yi as a disciple. She believed that Jiang Yi must have had some outstanding qualities to have gained the favor of that spirit emperor. Not long after, a knocking sound came from the small courtyard. Aunt Ru immediately stood up and walked towards the door with the two children. Upon actually arriving at the door, thinking that there was a spirit emperor outside, Aunt Ru, as an ordinary person, could not help but feel nervous. However, remembering that Jiang Yi had introduced Li Lingyu to her before, her emotions eased slightly. With a hint of nervousness, Aunt Ru slowly opened the door. Standing at the door was Li Lingyu, wearing a clean white robe and having shaved his beard clean. Looking like this, he could be called handsome and refined, but the gloom in his eyes ruined some of his demeanor. It is worth mentioning that he was actually holding quite a few gifts, which seemed out of place with his demeanor. Hello, madam, I am Jiang Yi's teacher, Li Lingyu. Teacher Lei, please come in and sit, Aunt Ru said hurriedly. The two came to the living room and sat down, and Aunt Ru's nervous emotions surfaced again. After all, Li Lingyu basically maintained a cold face. A powerful spirit emperor keeping such an expression in front of her really made one unable to help but overthink. Li Lingyu naturally noticed this, so he got straight to the point. Jiang Yi has already been taken as my apprentice and will follow me for cultivation from now on. The reason I took him as an apprentice is that he is a genius in terms of theory. Since he has become my apprentice, I will definitely teach him earnestly. You do not need to worry. His promise was resonant and firm, and after hearing it, Aunt Ru also displayed a look of trust. Then I will leave Zyro Yi to your guidance in the future. I hope you can be accommodating. Chapter 16, 3 months, 3 achievements, first foray into the spirit beast forest. Time passed in a flash, and 3 months had passed since Jiang Yi became Li Lingyu's student. After the two became master and student, Li Lingyu learned that Jiang Yi's innate spirit power level was only 0.1. Anyone who learned that their student had a mere 0.1 level of innate spirit power would likely be stunned. After all, with such low innate spirit power, whether he could even break through to level 10 was a question. However, after Lai Lingyu learned of this, he remained calm and even revealed a trace of joy. In Lai Lingyu's view, because his student's innate spirit power was low, the effect of his perfected theory on him would be even greater once it was completed. This would better prove his theory. Additionally, he wanted to understand the changes that occurred in each individual after a beast spirit bloodline underwent a secondary awakening. However, all of this had to be based on the premise that his methods and theories were flawless. He would not let anyone get hurt because of his imperfect theories again. Afterward, he planned to formulate a training plan for Jiang Yi. As someone who would awaken a spirit bloodline in the future, specialized training was crucial. Laying a good foundation in childhood would lead to a higher success rate later on. Yet at that moment, Jiang Yi spoke up and revealed the cultivation plan he had already devised for himself. Jiang Yi did not choose to hide the skill of photosynthesis. After all, if he didn't reveal it, aside from his theories, he was truly too mediocre. Without any highlights, the master-student relationship they had just formed might become less secure as time passed. Furthermore, if he didn't speak up, the speed at which his spirit power increased would expose his abnormalities. His master was not just a level 20-something spirit grandmaster, he would certainly be able to see the changes in his spirit power at a glance. It would be too much trouble to explain it clearly when that time came. So it was better to just bring it up directly. And he would insist that this ability was something he had possessed ever since his spirit awakened. Upon learning that Jiang Yi's spirit had such an ability, Lai Lingyu was shocked and immediately judged that it was caused by a spirit mutation. If it were a bloodline awakening, the form of the blue-silver grass would definitely change, yet Jiang Yi's blue-silver grass showed no changes. Therefore, it could only be judged as a spirit mutation. After understanding Jiang Yi's uniqueness and observing the spirit power body tempering method Jiang Yi had realized on his own, Lai Lingyu couldn't help but marvel at Jiang Yi's genius once again. Tempering the body from the inside out could maximize physical strength. This was undoubtedly the best way to lay the foundation for the extreme training method. Jiang Yi's training plan was very thorough, and Lai Lingyu did not intend to modify it. He only added medicinal baths and medicinal meals after Jiang Yi finished training to prevent his body from sustaining hidden injuries. At the same time, he prepared some medicine to help with the growth of mental force, assisting Jiang Yi in training his mental force. This would allow Jiang Yi to communicate with more blue-silver grass. As for the evenings, they remained a time for study, only now it was done together. Following this cultivation method, after 3 months, Jiang Yi made great progress. His spirit power reached around level 0.6, and for him, this speed was already considered lightning fast. Jiang Nanan, who had innate spirit power of level 8, had only increased her spirit power by 2 levels after 3 months of cultivation. Being able to reach a quarter of her progress was already shocking enough. Moreover, in the process, he had also tempered his physique. On this basis, he had also obtained 3 achievements. Achievement name, Perseverance. In front of geniuses, your persistence seems somewhat futile, but persistence is the only thing you can do. Acquisition condition, cultivate for no less than 3 hours every day for 30 consecutive days. Achievement reward, cultivation speed increased by 10%. Achievement name, Spirit Power Path Expert. Your familiarity with this path has already surpassed the road home. Acquisition condition, circulate along the same spirit power path over 1,000 times. Achievement reward, meridian toughness increased by 10%, width increased by 10%. Achievement name, stubbornness of a spirit power microsculptor. You use weak spirit power to temper your body from the inside out. This fine-tuned work does not seem to have brought much use. Acquisition condition, use spirit power to temper the body from the inside out for over 1 month. Achievement reward, muscle density, bone hardness and meridian toughness increased by 5%. All 3 achievements were closely related to Jiang Yi's cultivation. And they all improved his cultivation speed, though the magnitude was not very large. Because his original base was simply too small, when he could obtain an achievement that increased his innate spirit power level, his cultivation speed would then be able to undergo a true qualitative change. His spirit power body tempering, combined with the achievement rewards from the system, meant that his current physique was a world of difference compared to when he had just awakened his spirit. Li Lingyu had once found a level 10 beast spirit master who had not yet obtained a spirit ring to spar with him. In a situation where they stopped at a touch, that level 10 spirit master eventually fought him to a draw. If they had continued to fight, he would definitely have been the winner. However, Jiang Yi knew that this was only under the condition of not having fused with a spirit ring. Only after fusing with a spirit ring could one truly be called a spirit master. It was not to be mentioned in the same breath as someone who hadn't. However, even so, this physique that far exceeded his spirit power level left Li Lingyu extremely astonished, though he did not know about the system. He could only attribute it to Jiang Yi's spirit power body tempering and the miraculous effects of those training movements. Of course, he mostly believed that this was caused by the spirit mutation. Such performance made Li Lingyu even more certain that Jiang Yi was sent by the heavens to help him perfect his theories. Early in the morning, the sun was obscured by clouds, casting a hazy light. Dressed neatly, Jiang Yi walked to the door of Jiang Nanan's room and knocked gently. "Nanan, it's about time, we should set off." As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of footsteps came from inside the room. The door was quickly opened, and what came into view was Jiang Nanan, dressed in a light yellow training outfit, with her long hair tied into a neat ponytail. Although she was only 6 years old, her development speed had increased after awakening her spirit. Now, Jiang Nanan's height had reached around 1.3 meters. With such an outfit and her stunningly beautiful face, her heroic and spirited temperament was fully revealed. "How is it, brother Jiang Yi? Do I look good dressed like this?" Jiang Nanan asked somewhat shyly. A flash of amazement crossed Jiang Yi's eyes, and he then smiled and nodded, saying, "Our Nanan looks good no matter what she wears." Hearing Jiang Yi's praise, Jiang Nanan gave a shy smile. "Come with me, teacher is already waiting for us outside," Jiang Yi continued. Jiang Nanan agreed softly, ran to Jiang Yi's side and took his arm. The two walked quickly to the gate of the courtyard, where Li Lingyu's carriage was already parked. After saying goodbye to Aunt Ru, the two boarded the carriage and drove toward the Spirit Beast Forest. Chapter 17, Xuanshui Forest, Silver Moon Fox. The morning sun radiated a gentle glow, alleviating the morning chill. 3 months had passed, and Lingshan City had entered winter. Although it hadn't snowed, the near-freezing temperatures still made people feel cold. Rumble, rumble. A carriage galloped out from the east gate of Lingshan City, heading toward the central part of the Douluo Empire. This carriage was the very one carrying Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan. After 3 months of cultivation, Jiang Nanan had finally broken through to level 10, so naturally, she had to rush to fuse her first spirit ring. Originally, he thought that once Jiang Nanan broke through to level 10, Officer Shifei would send someone to help obtain a spirit ring. However, reality was unexpected. Officer Shifei had not sent anyone to help. After making some inquiries, he learned that Officer Shifei had gone to the front lines for business a while ago and had not yet returned. Although this situation was unexpected, Jiang Nanan couldn't wait forever, so he directly asked Li Lingyu to take action and take Jiang Nanan to hunt for a spirit ring. Because both of their cultivation levels were relatively low, Li Lingyu had specifically procured a carriage. The place they were going to this time was not the Stardew Great Forest, but a forest located within the territory of the Douluo Empire. In that forest, there was a spirit beast suitable for Jiang Nanan. On the carriage, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan were sitting together. Jiang Nanan kept talking, while Jiang Yi sat upright with a smile on his face, occasionally chiming in with a few words. The reason he maintained this state was that Jiang Yi was currently cultivating. 3 months ago, he had tried multitasking, cultivating while walking, but at that time he could only persist for 3 minutes. Now, after 3 months of training, although he hadn't invested too much time in this aspect, he had made significant progress. The carriage sped along the official road, and the sky slowly darkened, but Li Lingyu did not stop. They were spirit masters, and their energy was more vigorous than that of ordinary people. Traveling through the night was nothing, and hunting for a spirit ring did not require Jiang Yi or Jiang Nanan to take action. Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan on the carriage also replaced rest with cultivation directly in the carriage. On the morning of the third day, Lai Lingyu, who was driving the carriage, slowly pulled the reins. Immediately, the horse that had been galloping gradually slowed its pace and finally came to a complete stop. "Zyro Yinanan, get off the carriage," Lai Lingyu said as he stepped off the carriage. Hearing the call, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan quickly got off the carriage. "Is that the Xuanshui forest ahead?" Jiang Yi looked toward the dense forest in front. This was their destination for this time, the Xuanshui forest. It was the largest forest within the Douluo Empire, with extremely rich spirit beast resources, especially water attribute spirit beasts, which were distributed in large numbers. The Xuanshui pill, which was famous throughout the entire Douluo Continent, had most of its refining ingredients obtained from this forest. It was refined using the essence and blood of over a dozen types of water attribute spirit beasts, combined with dozens of herbs. It had the effect of significantly increasing spirit power, as well as cleansing the marrow and renewing the tendons, and could increase innate spirit power by 1 level. The Xuanshui pill was undoubtedly the thing Jiang Yi wanted most right now. Unfortunately, the Xuanshui pill was simply too precious. It was not something he could obtain at all. Even for his teacher, wanting to obtain one Xuanshui pill was almost impossible. In the original work, Bei Bei and Zhu Sanshi could produce the Xuanshui pill because their backgrounds were too great. One was the great-grandson of a limit Douluo, and the other was the young master of the Xunaming sect. Even if he had a spirit emperor master, he simply could not be compared with them. "That's right, while it's still early, let's enter the forest and start looking for the silver moon fox. This type of spirit beast is very difficult to catch at night, so we must hurry," Lai Lingyu explained to the two. "Okay," the two responded in unison. Before setting off for the Xuanshui forest, Jiang Yi had explained the spirit bloodline theory to Jiang Nanan and proposed a spirit beast for her first spirit ring. Without any surprise, Jiang Nanan had agreed before she had even finished listening. Jiang Nanan's trust in him had already exceeded the normal range, and Jiang Yi naturally would not betray her trust. Regarding the soft bones rabbit spirit, Jiang Yi had conducted in-depth research, and this information was naturally obtained from Lai Lingyu. As one of the original Shrek 7 devils, the spirit of the soft bones Douluo Zyro Wu, Lai Lingyu had naturally conducted in-depth research on it as well. After knowing the direction of spirit rings and spirit bones, Lai Lingyu also re-researched the bloodline sources of beast spirits, as well as the bloodline branches of various beast spirits, in hopes of finding the most suitable spirit beast. This way, the effect of spirit rings and spirit bones in enhancing bloodline vitality could be maximized. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. The soft bones rabbit spirit was already a high-level spirit among rabbit-type spirits. Tracing the bloodline source further up, the bloodline of the soft bones rabbit could be traced back to the ancient divine beast, the Taiyin moon rabbit. Zyro Wu, when she was a spirit beast, possessed the two skills teleportation and void. These two skills had a close connection to the Taiyin moon rabbit's ability to absorb moonlight power and use moonlight power to perform spatial travel. And the flexibility and coordination also secretly matched the softness and tenacity of the Taiyin moon rabbit's power. As for the paragon golden body, it should have been passed down through interbreeding with other spirit beasts during the process of bloodline inheritance. Once the bloodline source was determined, then what spirit ring to fuse for the soft bones rabbit was already very clear. The moon spirit cat, mystic moon deer, and silver moon fox were all very suitable. In addition, there were also secondary choices: water cloud leopards, yin demon birds, and other spirit beasts with suitable attributes and swift speed could be chosen. The closest one to them was naturally the silver moon fox living in the Xuanshui forest. Even if the silver moon fox was not found, a suitable substitute could be found in the Xuanshui forest. After all, the water attribute and the Taiyin moon rabbit attribute had an inseparable connection. Entering the Xuanshui forest, a damp aura rushed toward them. The soil underfoot was extremely damp, and stepping on it caused it to sink slightly, making it difficult for people to walk normally. Facing this situation, Jiang Yi immediately focused his mind and gathered his energy, controlling his spirit power to condense under his feet. In an instant, his body, which had been sinking, suddenly became steady. Oh, this spirit power control technique! Lai Lingyu's eyes lit up. At this moment, Jiang Nanan also changed her way of walking. Although she did not know such spirit power techniques, the strength control techniques brought to her by the soft bones rabbit also allowed her to walk as if on flat ground in this muddy terrain. Having solved this trouble, the three quickly advanced toward the depths of the forest. The deeper they went, the heavier the damp aura became, and the land underfoot turned into low-lying marshes. Gradually, the dense damp aura formed a mist in the air, making the surrounding objects blurry and unclear. This was the environment where the silver moon fox lived. At night, the temperature here would drop rapidly, causing this mist to condense into frost. When moonlight shone on the frost, that was the moment the silver moon fox liked the most. That time was also when the silver moon fox was most difficult to catch, because it could use the reflected moonlight to constantly travel, making it impossible for people to find its location. During the day, they would stay in trees to rest. This was the best time to hunt them. Stop, don't make a sound. Lai Lingyu raised his hand to signal the two to stop, and transmitted his voice to them. Jiang Yi immediately grabbed Jiang Nanan, who was standing to the side and almost couldn't stop her momentum, and stood quietly in place. The two of them stopped, but Lai Lingyu continued to walk forward. Surprisingly, as he walked forward, the surrounding mist was not disturbed in the slightest, and no footprints appeared under his feet. It was as if no one was walking in the mist at all. Jiang Yi watched as Lai Lingyu gradually disappeared into the mist. My strength is too weak, I can't see through the mist at all. Regarding this, he was also a bit helpless. Looking down at his feet, he revealed an expression of surprise. After about 3 minutes in that vast white mist, a dazzling silver light suddenly erupted. The intensity directly broke through the thick fog. Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan were instantly attracted by the silver light, and they saw the silver light turn into threads, like a meteor streaking across the sky, instantly escaping into another patch of mist. Immediately afterward, Lai Lingyu walked back from the mist with a look of surprise on his face. "Teacher, what happened?" Jiang Yi asked. Li Lingyu shook his head helplessly and told them what had just happened. Just after arriving in this mist, he immediately discovered a silver moon fox resting on a tree, and its age was about 390 years, which was very suitable for Jiang Nanan. He had wanted to rely on his cultivation to catch it silently. But he didn't expect that after catching the silver moon fox, in its panic, its body actually turned into moon essence and escaped. The sudden situation, coupled with the fact that the silver moon fox had no physical form at that time, meant he also hadn't been able to catch the silver moon fox in time. This silver moon fox possesses the ability to turn its body into moon essence. Its bloodline must have undergone reversion, making it even more compatible with Nanan. Hearing this, Jiang Nanan's eyes lit up. Who wouldn't want their spirit ring to be stronger? Teacher, I remember that the silver moon fox generally only has the ability to turn into moon essence after exceeding 10,000 years. Even if bloodline reversion allowed this silver moon fox to obtain this ability, it must consume a lot, right? Jiang Yi said. Li Lingyu nodded slightly and said, "That's right. After that silver moon fox turned into moon essence, it definitely couldn't have run far. It is still nearby. It wants to hide in the mist so we can't find it. Since that's the case, I will make this mist disappear." "Wait a moment, teacher. I might have a way to find it. Let me try first." Jiang Yi called out to stop Lai Lingyu, who was intending to make a big move. "Okay, then you try first." Lai Lingyu saw that Jiang Yi seemed confident and agreed. Having received permission, a blue light flashed in Jiang Yi's hand, and blue-silver grass condensed and extended toward his feet. Wildfires cannot destroy it. The spring breeze brings it back to life. The blue-silver grass was the most tenacious plant in the entire Douluo Continent and could survive in almost any environment. In this extremely muddy land and extremely damp environment, the blue-silver grass was still growing tenaciously. As the blue-silver grass made contact with the blue-silver grass on the ground, Jiang Yi's perspective instantly changed dramatically. Chapter 18, Tripwire, Power of Moonlight. The blue-silver grass in Jiang Yi's hand emitted a faint blue glow as it plunged into the muddy ground. Connecting with the root systems of other blue-silver grass, he used his mental force to communicate with them. With his previous experience, he completed this process quickly. Immediately after, he activated Grass Emperor, and in an instant, he could share the vision of the surrounding blue-silver grass. The silver moon fox is hiding there. Jiang Yi issued the command to the blue-silver grass with his mind. Upon receiving the order, the surrounding blue-silver grass all began to stir, swaying slightly as if a breeze had passed through. Every blade of blue-silver grass continuously relayed the message, and soon the information was passed back. The silver moon fox is here with me. Jiang Yi was now in perfect sync with the blue-silver grass within the range. Although the message was passed layer by layer through the grass before finally reaching his mind, he could instantly identify the specific blade of blue-silver grass that had first transmitted those words. With a thought, Jiang Yi's vision shifted once again. Before his eyes, a fox covered in silver fur with a crescent moon mark on its forehead was lying silently in the grass. The silver moon fox, which usually despised filth, was now so desperate not to be found that it did not care about the muddy ground beneath its feet. So that's where it is. Found it, Jiang Yi opened his eyes and said. The silver moon fox is 15 meters to the front left, hiding in a patch of blue-silver grass. Hearing the location Jiang Yi described, Lai Lingyu immediately began to investigate. A trace of pale cyan energy appeared at his fingertips, flying toward the front left, passing through the thick mist, and arriving at the spot Jiang Yi had indicated. It's actually here. A look of surprise flashed in Lai Lingyu's eyes as he stood in place. This disciple of his really had too many unexpected qualities. Confirming the silver moon fox's hiding spot, Lai Lingyu did not hesitate, his figure flickering like a gust of wind. In an instant, Lai Lingyu had already arrived at the silver moon fox's hiding place. He reached out toward the silver moon fox, and suddenly, a gust of wind transformed into a giant palm, sweeping toward it. Awu, the silver moon fox, felt the threat and let out a startled cry. It did not understand how it had been found so easily. In this moment of crisis, the silver moon fox kicked its hind legs hard, trying to escape. Just at that moment, a blade of blue-silver grass emitting a blue glow suddenly burst from the soil beneath the silver moon fox. It wrapped around the silver moon fox's left leg. The usually fragile blue-silver grass became incredibly tough, forcefully holding the silver moon fox in place. The gust of wind arrived the next second, restraining the silver moon fox's body. Li Lingyu watched this scene, not knowing what to think. In truth, he could have easily caught the silver moon fox, even without the help of this blade of blue-silver grass. However, the fact that Jiang Yi could utilize blue-silver grass that had not been augmented by a spirit ring to such an extent truly astonished him. On the Douluo Continent, the ones who had cultivated the blue-silver grass spirit the best were undoubtedly the Tang sect, with its 10,000-year heritage. But even members of the Tang sect, before absorbing a spirit ring, would likely find it difficult to use blue-silver grass to this degree. With a thought, the restrained silver moon fox flew into his hand. Li Lingyu carried the silver moon fox back to Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan. It has been caught. This place is not suitable for absorbing a spirit ring, so let's head out first. Okay, the two agreed in unison. This time, Lai Lingyu led the way, with the mist being completely dispersed wherever they passed. And cyan wind wrapped around Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan. This made their movement much faster. Arriving at the outer edge of the Xunshui forest, the heavy, humid air finally vanished, and Jiang Yi felt his breathing become much easier. Stopping when they reached a safe place, he sat down on the ground, his face slightly pale. Communicating with the blue-silver grass and using it to bind the silver moon fox had both brought about significant exhaustion. Brother Jiang Yi, are you okay? Jiang Nanan asked worriedly. She had level 10 spirit power, and having expended little energy, she was naturally full of vitality. Don't worry, I'm fine. Nanan, hurry up and absorb the spirit ring. This spirit ring is very suitable for you. Jiang Yi smiled faintly. Seeing that Jiang Yi was fine, Jiang Nanan nodded obediently. Li Lingyu placed the silver moon fox in front of Jiang Nanan and handed her a silver-white dagger. Holding the dagger, a trace of reluctance flashed across Jiang Nanan's face. She paused for a moment, but in the end, she slit the silver moon fox's throat. Blood flowed out continuously, and the silver moon fox's fur, which had been emitting a faint glow, became extremely dim. Not long after, a yellow spirit ring rose above the silver moon fox's corpse. Jiang Nanan immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, using her spirit power to attract the spirit ring, and began absorbing it. Recover a bit, a light flashed in Lai Lingyu's hand, and a baby bottle appeared in his hand. Jiang Yi took the baby bottle and skillfully began to use it to recover his spirit power. It was clear that this was not his first time using a baby bottle. Although he was a spirit master from the original 3 Douluo countries, Lai Lingyu had no aversion to spirit tools. On the contrary, he was interested in whether spirit tools could assist in his theoretical research. Unfortunately, most spirit tools in this era were used for war and combat between spirit masters. Almost none were of the type that helped with spirit research. As his spirit power began to recover, Jiang Yi closed his eyes, calmed his mind, and summoned the system interface. Because during the soul hunt just now, he had obtained another achievement. Detected that the host's blue-silver grass successfully tripped a century-level spirit beast. Achievement obtained. Achievement name, Wisdom of the Tripwire. Your spirit has finally found its life's value, becoming a qualified tripwire. Achievement reward, obtained skill Grass Bind. Consume a small amount of spirit power to use blue-silver grass to wrap around the target's legs, causing the target to instantly lose balance. Note, the effect drops drastically against targets above Spirit Elder level. It actually gave a skill, and such a practical one at that. After reading the achievement description, Jiang Yi was filled with joy. This was his first time obtaining a skill from an achievement, and it was also his first skill ever. Being able to make spirit masters, below the Spirit Elder level, lose their balance could be considered god tier for anyone. If he possessed a spirit tool, he could even defeat a spirit master with this skill. His spirit power was soon fully recovered. Jiang Yi opened his eyes and immediately looked at Jiang Nanan, who was absorbing the spirit ring. The light of the yellow spirit ring enveloped Jiang Nanan, but the fur that had appeared on her body due to the spirit manifestation was emitting a soft silver glow. Is this the power of moonlight? Jiang Yi's tone was somewhat uncertain. That's right, it is the power of moonlight. I didn't expect Nanan to be so lucky as to inherit this talent from the silver moon fox. Is this the change that comes from fusing with a homologous spirit ring? Lai Lingyu muttered excitedly. Perhaps it's just luck. Jiang Yi's words were a bit of a cold shower. However, this was indeed the truth. How could a single spirit ring bring about such a huge change? Chapter 19, Moon Teleportation, Returning to Lingshan City. Hearing this, Lai Lingyu's excited mood calmed down. He also knew that what Jiang Yi said was a fact. It was just that seeing his own theory make new progress made him unable to help but feel excited. After this small interlude, time began to slip away second by second, and soon, night had fallen. The bright moonlight spilled down. Under the illumination of the moonlight, Jiang Nanan, who had not yet finished absorbing her spirit ring, presented a more peculiar scene. Her entire body, not just her hair, was emitting a silver radiance, and her whole body transformed into a semi-transparent state. It was as if, in the next second, she would transform into moonlight and merge with the moon. This situation did not last long. Immediately after, Jiang Nanan's body trembled. The yellow spirit ring above her head, which had long since become incredibly illusory, completely disappeared at this moment. Jiang Nanan opened her eyes, and a silver light flashed within them. Big brother Jiang Yi, I've finished the fusion. Jiang Nanan jumped up excitedly and threw herself into Jiang Yi's arms. Being hugged by Jiang Nanan, Jiang Yi suddenly had a strange feeling, because he discovered that his head was actually resting on Jiang Nanan's neck. She grew taller after absorbing the spirit ring, Jiang Yi immediately realized. Originally, their heights were about the same. Because of the difference in spirit power, he was a little shorter than Jiang Nanan, but now he was nearly half a head shorter than her. The changes that a spirit ring brings to a spirit master are in all aspects. Height and various bodily functions all receive great improvements. Given my situation, I don't know how long it will take before I can obtain my first spirit ring. Jiang Yi couldn't help but sigh. How is it, after absorbing the spirit ring, what spirit ability did you obtain? After hugging for a while, Jiang Nanan finally let go of Jiang Yi, and Jiang Yi immediately asked. When she was fusing, there were so many strange phenomena on her body. The spirit ability she obtained must certainly be extraordinary. Jiang Nanan revealed a mysterious smile on her face, and behind her, a yellow spirit ring rose. The spirit ring flashed with light, and under the moonlight, Jiang Nanan's figure instantly disappeared. A silver stream of light, following a strange and erratic trajectory, appeared behind Jiang Yi before he could even react. He, how was it? Jiang Nanan patted Jiang Yi's shoulder. Feeling the warm palm on his shoulder, Jiang Yi was momentarily dazed. Did you obtain the teleportation skill? Li Lingyu, who was on the side, also showed a look of surprise. This skill could certainly be called strong. Although there were obvious traces after activation, the trajectory was hard to predict. It could attract the enemy's attention, and then she could teleport behind the enemy to deliver a fatal blow. The change in Jiang Yi and Li Lingyu's expressions made Jiang Nanan proudly lift her head. Then she introduced her spirit ability to the two of them. The spirit ability she used just now was called Moon Teleportation. After activating the spirit ability, she could transform into a silver stream of light to perform teleportation, confusing the enemy with an erratic trajectory. During this process, her aura would become extremely weak, allowing her to evade the enemy's mental lock. Her teleportation range was about 50 meters in radius, and with her current spirit power, she could teleport twice in a short period. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that under moonlight, her spirit power consumption would significantly decrease when using the spirit ability. This spirit ability was undoubtedly extremely powerful. Two teleportations greatly enhanced Jiang Nanan's mobility. Teleporting behind an enemy skipped the process of an agility attack system Spirit Master approaching the enemy, and it also provided strong life-saving capabilities. After understanding Jiang Nanan's spirit ability, the three of them set up tents right there. Since it was late and Jiang Nanan had consumed a lot of energy fusing the spirit ring, it was better to rest up before returning to Lingshan City. In the dim forest, a pheasant with black hair all over its body and colorful tail feathers on its butt was burying its head, eating blue-silver grass. Suddenly, the blue-silver grass that the pheasant was eating abruptly lashed out and wrapped around its feet. Cluck! The pheasant let out a terrified scream. Its sharp beak pecked fiercely at the blue-silver grass, wanting to break free from the restraint. Just as it was about to peck the blue-silver grass suddenly released a burst of blue light. The fragile blue-silver grass became incredibly tough, and its strength became immense. With a violent pull, the pheasant immediately lost its balance and toppled to the ground. Lying on the blue-silver grass, this pheasant's death was already sealed. Under the control of the Grass Emperor, all the blue-silver grass swarmed up, completely wrapping and binding the pheasant's body. Soon, the pheasant, wrapped by the blue-silver grass and unable to breathe, died on the spot. Jiang Yi's figure walked out from the darkness and picked up the dead pheasant. This grass bind skill is truly extraordinary. Having obtained this skill, he naturally wanted to try it out when there was an opportunity. Taking the pheasant to the campfire in front of the tent, he began to roast the chicken, using his experience in cooking from his past life. As time passed, the aroma of the roasted chicken soon wafted out. So fragrant, Jiang Nanan looked at the golden roasted chicken with sparkling eyes, revealing a drooling expression. It's ready to eat. Jiang Yi broke off a chicken leg and handed it to Jiang Nanan. Afterwards, he shared a portion with Li Lingyu. After finishing the roasted chicken, Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan went into the tent to rest. Li Lingyu kept watch outside. The night passed without incident, and the next morning they boarded a carriage and headed towards Lingshan City. 2 days later, the three returned to Lingshan City, and once again devoted themselves to their usual cultivation. And not long after they returned, Officer Shifei brought Adjutant Lin Yi back to Lingshan City as well. Both of their complexions were somewhat poor, and their lips were a bit pale. It looked as if they had sustained significant injuries. The reason they had to rush to the front line was because the dueling and Heavenly Soul Empire had once again clashed. As border guards, they naturally had to go to support at the first opportunity. When there are no external threats, internal conflicts increase. Officer Shifei sighed inwardly. In his view, the Heavenly Soul and Douling were originally one entity, so why bother fighting amongst themselves? However, he did not dare to say such things out loud, and even if he did, it would be useless. Back then, even when the Sun-Moon Empire had almost unified the Douluo Continent, it hadn't made the Douling and Heavenly Soul Empire merge, so how could he possibly influence it? Returning to the military camp, Officer Shifei did not rush to handle military affairs, but instead called his subordinates over. During the time I was away, how was Jiang Nanan's cultivation? She should have already broken through to level 10, right? He had originally planned to send someone to help Jiang Nanan hunt a spirit ring after she broke through to level 10, but he hadn't expected an incident at the border, catching him off guard. That's right, Jiang Nanan has already broken through to level 10, but it seems she went with others to hunt for a spirit ring. By now, she has probably already obtained her first spirit ring, the subordinate said. Chapter 20, Officer Shifei's shock, breaking through to level 1. Upon hearing his subordinate's words, Officer Shifei immediately furrowed his brows. According to his previous investigations, Jiang Nanan and the others had a very small social network, and there were absolutely no spirit masters among them. If Jiang Nanan were to pay a spirit master to help her hunt for a spirit ring, she wouldn't be able to afford it. After all, most of their current expenses were being covered by his financial support. Could she have been deceived into going to the spirit beast forest to hunt a 10-year spirit beast? Officer Shifei thought of this possibility and was instantly filled with anger. After all, he still planned to cultivate Jiang Nanan, letting her become a titled Douluo in the future to repay his help. If her first spirit ring was a 10-year spirit ring, then everything would be ruined. At the same time, he also felt some regret. If he hadn't been away at the time, this situation wouldn't have occurred. Why didn't you stop her at the time? Officer Shifei immediately reproached his subordinate. Please forgive me, my lord. It's mainly because Jiang Nanan and the others left too quickly. Even we only discovered she wasn't at the academy afterward, and that was how we knew she had left. The subordinate explained in a panic. Officer Shifei's expression was ugly as he listened to his subordinate's explanation, but there was no point in saying more now. He could only pray that Jiang Nanan hadn't fused with a 10-year spirit ring as he feared. I must go see for myself. Officer Shifei made a prompt decision, left the barracks immediately, and headed toward Lingshan Primary Academy. After leaving the barracks, Officer Shifei's body transformed into a blurred shadow, and about a minute later, he had already arrived at the gate of Lingshan Primary Academy. Let me in, Officer Shifei took out a token and said to the two guards at the gate. Seeing the token, the guards dared not be negligent and immediately opened the gate, letting Officer Shifei in. Just as Officer Shifei arrived at Lingshan Primary Academy, at the back of the academy, Jiang Yi was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed amidst a patch of blue-silver grass, cultivating using photosynthesis. Not far away, Lai Lingyu was teaching Jiang Nanan about the knowledge of selecting spirit rings. The strange phenomenon that appeared when Jiang Nanan fused with the Silver Moon Fox spirit ring had piqued his interest in her. He could test his theories on Jiang Nanan first. Anyway, fusing with a spirit ring that was homologous to one's spirit was absolutely beneficial and harmless to Spirit Master. As for the subsequent limit training, if Jiang Nanan couldn't bear it, he naturally wouldn't force her. While Lai Lingyu was focused on teaching, he suddenly seemed to perceive something and looked up. Are you Lai Lingyu? In front of him, Officer Shifei asked in a somewhat cautious tone. Upon arriving at Lingshan Primary Academy, he had asked around for Jiang Nanan's location. He learned that she had been taken to the back of the academy by a teacher to cultivate, so he immediately rushed over. This teacher is not simple. How could Lingshan Primary Academy have such a teacher? Officer Shifei thought to himself. The moment he saw Lai Lingyu, he felt a wave of pressure. This person's strength was definitely above his own. Uncle Shi, Jiang Nanan called out in surprise when she saw who it was. You are Officer Shifei, Lai Lingyu asked indifferently. That's right, I don't know who you are, sir. With such strength, why are you working as a teacher at this small Lingshan Primary Academy? I am here naturally to teach my disciple, Lai Lingyu replied calmly. Disciple, Officer Shifei looked at Jiang Nanan, revealing a surprised expression. Have you taken Nanan as your disciple? No, Lai Lingyu shook his head. Officer Shifei was confused by the negative answer. In this Lingshan Primary Academy, besides Jiang Nanan, the genius with innate level 8 spirit power. Who else could catch Lai Lingyu's eye? Uncle Shi, you're back. Just then, Jiang Yi, who was cultivating in the blue-silver grass field, heard the commotion and walked over. He is my disciple, Lai Lingyu said, pointing to the newly arrived Jiang Yi. What? Officer Shifei couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Li Lingyu's tone was calm and firm, not at all like he was faking it, but how could Officer Shifei believe this? Jiang Yi's innate spirit power was only level 0.1, which could be said to have broken the record for the lowest innate spirit power for a spirit master on the Douluo Continent. Such a spirit master was actually favored by an expert like Lai Lingyu. Seeing Officer Shifei's shocked expression, Lai Lingyu couldn't be bothered to explain to him. How could he possibly know how outstanding Jiang Yi's talent was? If their research succeeded, all the beast spirit masters on the entire Douluo Continent would treat them as honored guests. Officer Shifei, if there's nothing else, you should leave first. Don't delay me in teaching my disciple. Lai Lingyu issued an order to leave. Li Lingyu's impolite words did not make Officer Shifei leave immediately. Officer Shifei looked at Jiang Nanan, forced a smile on his face, and asked, Nanan, how many years is your first spirit ring? My first spirit ring is 390 years old. To prove it, Jiang Nanan said while activating her spirit and releasing the spirit ring. Not bad. Seeing the yellow spirit ring, a smile appeared on Officer Shifei's face. 390 years was already close to the limit for a first spirit ring. Fusing with such a first spirit ring would undoubtedly be of great help to Jiang Nanan's future development. Having figured out Jiang Nanan's spirit ring, Officer Shifei gave Lai Lingyu a deep look, then didn't do anything else and turned to leave. Returning to the barracks, Officer Shifei fell into deep thought. He couldn't figure out why an expert like Lai Lingyu would want to take Jiang Yi as a disciple. Could he have ulterior motives? But what is there to plot against a spirit master with no background and terrible talent? For a moment, he couldn't think of an answer and could only order his subordinates to investigate Lai Lingyu's background. He hoped to figure out Lai Lingyu's background before guessing his motives. Although Officer Shifei had been impolitely asked to leave by Lai Lingyu, he did not stop his financial support for Jiang Nanan and Jiang Yi. After all, there was no conflict between Officer Shifei and them. As long as he kept supporting them, Jiang Nanan and Jiang Yi would owe him a favor, which would surely bring him returns in the future. Therefore, there was no need for him to create friction with Jiang Yi and the others just because of his unpleasantness with Lai Lingyu. The peaceful life of cultivation passed very quickly, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 3 more months had passed. Early in the morning, just as the sun was rising, Jiang Yi arrived early at the back of the academy. Walking to the center of the blue-silver grass field with familiar ease, Jiang Yi had an eager expression on his face. Because after such a long time of cultivation, his spirit power had finally reached level 0.9, or to be precise, 0.99. He was just one step away from breaking through to level 1. Level 1 spirit power might not mean much to other spirit masters, but it had taken him nearly 6 months to reach it. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, his blue-silver grass connected with the others once again. The immense energy of heaven and earth was attracted by the blue-silver grass, and group photosynthesis poured all the spirit power into his body. Chapter 21, Wall Breaker Pseudo-Human Furnace. A massive amount of heaven and earth energy suddenly surged into his body, causing Jiang Yi's body to tremble, but it returned to calm in an instant. With his meridians already tempered to be wide and resilient through spirit power body refining and those achievements, enduring this level of heaven and earth energy was no longer difficult for him. As the heaven and earth energy entered his body, Jiang Yi used all his strength to begin refining it. The heaven and earth energy flowed like a trickling stream, being refined into spirit power, and finally converged into his danshan. Jiang Yi, who had originally been only half a step away from level 1, finally poked through that layer of paper, naturally breaking through to level 1. Before Jiang Yi could even rejoice, a cold notification sound rang in his mind, and at the same time, a bronze light flashed before his eyes. Detected that the host's spirit power has broken through to level 1, achieved an accomplishment. Accomplishment name: Wall Breaker, pseudo detected spirit power breaking through the critical value, successfully promoted from a theoretical spirit master to a statistical spirit master. Accomplishment reward: spirit power purity increased by 20%, cultivation speed increased by 20%. Obtained limited title, Guardian of One. While possessing this title, when facing any weakening or zeroing negative effects, you have a certain chance to retain level 1 spirit power and physical strength. Looking at the panel appearing in his mind, Jiang Yi was surprised. This was completely different from the accomplishments he had obtained before. A bronze accomplishment, could it be that there are also silver and gold accomplishments? Looking at the wall breaker pseudo, emitting a bronze light, Jiang Yi couldn't help but think. If there is a pseudo, does that mean there is a true one? How would one obtain the true one? Also, the rewards given by this bronze accomplishment are too generous. They are far stronger than the rewards given before. The bronze accomplishment gave 2 rewards at once, plus a limited title. If there really were silver and gold accomplishments, what kind of rewards would they give? Refining part of the spirit power in his body, Jiang Yi opened his eyes. Finally broke through to level 1. This is just the first step. I will definitely become stronger in the future. Jiang Yi looked at the blue-silver grass covering the mountains and plains, thinking silently in his heart. After completing the breakthrough, Jiang Yi's life did not change at all. After all, it was only a breakthrough to level 1, not a breakthrough to a titled Douluo. Just like that, time passed like a white horse galloping past a crevice. A year had passed since Jiang Yi started cultivating after awakening his spirit. It was at this time that Jiang Yi obtained another accomplishment after a long absence. Acquisition condition: with spirit power below level 10, refine heaven and earth energy approaching the human body's limit, more than 50 times. Accomplishment name: human furnace, a water cup attempting to contain a great river. Is this overestimating one's capabilities or a high-stakes gamble? Accomplishment reward: the body's upper limit for containing energy exceeding one's own level is increased by 10%, and refining efficiency is increased by 10%. When he obtained this accomplishment, Jiang Yi was overjoyed. This accomplishment raised his advantage by another level. The increase in the containment limit and refining efficiency gave his cultivation efficiency a true, significant boost. With this accomplishment adding wings to a tiger, Jiang Yi's cultivation speed was advancing by leaps and bounds compared to before. Cultivating at this speed, more than 3 years passed. In over 3 years, Jiang Yi's cultivation progressed rapidly, breaking through directly from level 1 to level 9. An increase of over 2.6 levels of spirit power per year was simply a fantasy for others with an innate spirit power of 0.1. In Lingshan Primary Academy, many spirit masters with innate spirit power of level 3 or even level 5 could not even match the spirit power he gained in 3 years. During these 3 years, he naturally obtained new accomplishments, but compared to the previous frequency, it had decreased a lot. The reason for this situation, Jiang Yi felt, was likely because he had been constantly in cultivation. He had already obtained many accomplishments related to cultivation, so it was difficult to frequently obtain new ones. Under these circumstances, he obtained a total of 9 accomplishments during his 3 years of cultivation. Among them, only 1 accomplishment was worth mentioning. The other 8 were for increasing physical strength and cultivation speed, but the rewards given were not very generous. Acquisition condition: cumulative effective cultivation time reaches 5,000 hours. Accomplishment name: Yugong sedimentation. When others are shining, you are accumulating. When others fall, you are still accumulating. Accomplishment reward: spirit power recovery speed increased by 25%. This accomplishment reward greatly improved Jiang Yi's endurance. Because his endurance was already very strong, with the support of multiple accomplishments, the spirit power he cultivated had extremely high purity. Added to the recovery speed, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Jiang Yi had made such great progress in these 3 years. Jiang Nanan naturally did not fall behind. In over 3 years, she had broken through to level 24. The reason she could increase her spirit power so much in over 3 years was as follows. First, because the first spirit ring she fused with was close to the limit of its age, while bringing her a spirit ring, it also brought her spirit power to level 12. Secondly, after Jiang Nanan fused with her first spirit ring, she discovered that her cultivation speed would become faster when practicing under moonlight. There was also the second spirit ring. She fused with a 700-year-old luminous deer. The luminous deer is a lower-ranked spirit beast of the mystic moon deer, capable of absorbing moonlight for cultivation, and its speed is also very swift. Although it could not attack using moonlight like the mystic moon deer, nor did it possess spatial power and healing powers, it was still very suitable as Jiang Nanan's second spirit ring. Most importantly, this spirit ring was also born from a spirit beast homologous to the soft bones rabbit. The spirit ability obtained could also be called a divine skill. After releasing the spirit ability, Jiang Nanan's speed would instantly increase by 50%. In high-speed movement, she could leave behind 3 afterimages at the places where she stopped. At this time, her figure would disappear, hiding within the 3 afterimages. Before the afterimages disappeared, she could move among the 3 afterimages, performing displacement and position swapping. Each time she moved, the afterimage would directly disappear, and it would consume a large amount of spirit power. After absorbing spirit rings from homologous spirit beasts for her first and second spirit rings, the spirit abilities obtained both possessed spatial characteristics. Undoubtedly, this once again proved the huge effect of fusing with homologous spirit beasts for a spirit master. Li Lingyu was excited about this for a long time. He seemed to be able to already see the time when Jiang Nanan would fully awaken her bloodline in the future. To be able to reach level 24 at the age of 10, these conditions were all indispensable. It was spring again, and Lingshan Primary Academy once again welcomed the start of the school season. Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan also welcomed their last semester at Lingshan Primary Academy. Ordinary Spirit Masters would graduate from Primary Academy at the age of 11 and enter Intermediate Spirit Master Academy to study. Chapter 22, Battling a Spirit Master. At the entrance of Lingshan Primary Academy, students were returning to school after the holidays. There were also some parents, bringing their children who had just awakened their spirits to complete the enrollment procedures. Suddenly, the bustling crowd had their attention drawn in one direction. Not far away, a pair of figures, a boy and a girl, were walking towards the school gate, chatting and laughing. The boy was dressed in black. He looked about 10 years old, with a well-proportioned and slender build, yet every gesture he made carried a sense of power. Of course, this was not why he attracted the gazes of others. The most crucial factor was his appearance. His fair skin glowed under the sunlight, and his medium-length black hair formed casual arcs in the gentle breeze. His smiling eyes were like amber washed by morning dew, and his handsome face did not feel detached from the mortal world. Instead, it possessed an affability that made it impossible for anyone to feel jealous. Walking between heaven and earth, he seemed to be one with nature, radiating vitality. And his female companion beside him was no less impressive in both appearance and temperament. Her stunning face made people unable to look away. Seeing them walk together, one could not help but sigh that they were a match made in heaven. In the small Lingshan city, with 2 such figures appearing at the same time, who else could it be but Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan? As for being watched by others, the 2 were long accustomed to it, so they ignored these gazes and walked straight into the school gate. They did not go to their classroom. As early as a year ago, they had stopped cultivating with the others in the academy and were basically cultivating with Li Lingyu. Arriving at the back mountain, they found that Li Lingyu was already waiting there. Nanan, go to the side and start today's cultivation, Li Lingyu said first to Jiang Nanan. Jiang Nanan had been learning from Li Lingyu for so long that, although she had not formally become his disciple, they already had the reality of a master-disciple relationship. Jiang Nanan naturally obeyed Li Lingyu's words and went to the side to start cultivating. Zyro Yi, this holiday has passed. You have broken through to level 9, right? Li Lingyu asked with a faint smile. He had long been accustomed to Jiang Yi's spirit power improvements. That's right, I just broke through to level 9 not long ago. Teacher, you kept me here alone. Surely you haven't arranged some special training for me, right? Li Lingyu's strange behavior led Jiang Yi to guess. Smart. I have seen your progress over the years. With your innate 0.1 level of spirit power, while your spirit power progress has been so rapid, your physical fitness has also improved quickly. However, there is one area where you are still lacking, and that is practical combat. Whether one is a spirit master or a soul engineer, their true strength must ultimately be reflected in battle. Jiang Yi nodded in agreement. The Douluo Continent was currently relatively peaceful, but in a few years, the Sun Moon Empire and the Holy Spirit cult would launch a war on the Douluo Continent. At that time, one must have sufficient strength to protect oneself and the people one cares about. I have found a sparring partner for you. He just obtained his first spirit ring. Come to think of it, this person is your classmate. A classmate? Jiang Yi was stunned. Among his classmates, apart from Jiang Nanan, was there anyone else who had obtained their first spirit ring? Follow me, there was a smile in Li Lingyu's eyes. Following his footsteps, Jiang Yi arrived at an open space. In the middle of the open space was a young man dressed in black, whose attire was very similar to Jiang Yi's. No, not similar, it was exactly the same. Looking at this man who was dressed exactly like him, Jiang Yi couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. Had he really become that famous? Was there actually a copycat? Teacher, what is going on here? This is trouble you caused yourself. If you want to know, why not just go over and ask? Li Lingyu teased. Since Li Lingyu was being so mysterious, Jiang Yi couldn't be bothered to ask further and walked straight towards that person. Sensing Jiang Yi's arrival, the person whose back was turned finally turned his head around. He was about 11 or 12 years old with delicate features, but unfortunately, the jealousy and anger in his eyes ruined his originally handsome appearance. The reason he was suddenly so angry was that wearing the same outfit wasn't scary. Whoever was uglier was the one who felt awkward. When Jiang Yi, the original, appeared in front of him, the young man immediately felt inferior and became embarrassed and angry. Jiang Yi, we can finally have a battle, the young man said in a low voice. It was as if the two of them had always been rivals, just without the opportunity to battle. The young man's behavior left Jiang Yi feeling completely confused. Who are you? Do we know each other? Jiang Yi couldn't help but ask. It's you. Seeing Jiang Yi act like this, the young man was instantly furious and pointed his finger at him fiercely. I am Zhu Long, the young man shouted through gritted teeth. Upon hearing this name, Jiang Yi didn't react for a moment. After deep thought, he looked at Zhu Long with furrowed brows. You're the kid who sat in front of Nanan. That's right, and call me Zhu Long. You are a year younger than me. What right do you have to call me a kid? Zhu Long shouted. Jiang Yi looked at the furious Zhu Long, and by this time, he had already pieced together the sequence of events in his mind. On the first day of school, this Zhu Long had shown his affection for Jiang Nanan, but was directly rejected. When they were still attending class in the classroom, Zhu Long had not given up and often secretly watched Jiang Nanan from the shadows. Moreover, he had shown great hostility towards him, someone who was extremely close to Jiang Nanan. At the time, Jiang Yi just thought it was the persistence of a child, and that Zhu Long would give up before long. Later, they followed Li Lingyu to study, and basically never went to class, so naturally, he had forgotten about Zhu Long. But Zhu Long had not forgotten them. Instead, he still liked Jiang Nanan, even because Jiang Nanan liked to stay with him. He even imitated Jiang Yi's outfit, resulting in his current appearance. I came to challenge you this time with only one purpose, to make you leave Nanan's side. How are you, someone who doesn't even have level 1 innate spirit power, worthy of staying by Nanan's side? Zhou Long was emotionally agitated, as if Jiang Yi had committed a grave error. This guy has a problem with his brain. After listening to Zhu Long's words, this thought immediately rose in Jiang Yi's mind. Who Nanan wants to stay with cannot be decided by who you duel. And the way you speak, and the fact that you are dressed just like me, makes me very unhappy, so I have decided to beat you up. Jiang Yi said coldly, with an indifferent expression. HMPH, you don't even have a spirit ring. What right do you have to say that? Zhu Long snorted coldly. Raw, yellow light burst forth from Zhu Long's body. His hands transformed into huge tiger claws, Yellow fur grew on his arms and cheeks, and the fur on his forehead condensed into a twisted king character. A yellow light slowly rose, and Zhu Long laughed and said, "With me possessing a first spirit ring and the yellow tiger spirit, it is impossible for you to be my opponent." Facing Zhu Long, whose aura had changed drastically, Jiang Yi remained calm. Chapter 23, Physical Overpowering Spirit Power Bottleneck. HMPH, in Zhu Long's eyes, Jiang Yi's demeanor was nothing more than a pretense of calm. No matter what, it was impossible for Jiang Yi, who hadn't even obtained his first spirit ring and possessed a blue-silver grass spirit, to defeat him, a one-ring spirit master with a beast spirit. Thinking this, Zhu Long unleashed his full strength, his form like a fierce tiger as he lunged at Jiang Yi. Seeing this, Jiang Yi didn't dodge. Instead, he stomped his right foot, charging toward Zhu Long with even greater speed. "You're courting death," Zhu Long swung his tiger claw and threw a fierce punch. A sharp glint flashed in Jiang Yi's eyes. His powerful mental force allowed him to perceive all of Zhu Long's movements. He also threw a punch, aiming it at Zhu Long's tiger claw. Just as their fists were about to collide, Jiang Yi opened his hand, transforming his fist into a palm, and firmly grabbed Zhu Long's tiger claw. A flash of joy crossed Zhu Long's eyes, but it vanished in an instant. Because his tiger claw had been firmly caught by Jiang Yi's palm, failing to inflict any damage on him. At that moment, Jiang Yi's other hand formed into a fist, swung out, creating a sound of tearing air. With one tiger claw firmly gripped, Zhu Long had no room to defend against Jiang Yi's attack. The fist slammed into Zhu Long's abdomen. A wave of intense pain washed over him, and his body flew 3 meters away like a kite with a snapped string. Zhu Long let out a painful roar, filled with anger and resentment. He braced his tiger claws on the ground, wanting to stand up and continue fighting Jiang Yi. He had only been caught off guard just now, which was why Jiang Yi had hit him. If he took it seriously, that would never happen. He hadn't even used his spirit ability yet. Just as he was about to stand up to continue the fight, a massive fist appeared before his eyes, sending him flying once again. This time he was hit in the head, instantly making Zhu Long's brain feel dizzy and muddled, like a bowl of mush. Jiang Yi's figure had appeared beside Zhu Long before he knew it. Before Jiang Yi could attack again, the dazed Zhu Long shouted in a terrified tone, "Sant, stop hitting, stop hitting." Jiang Yi didn't strike, merely standing to the side and looking down at Zhu Long for a moment. "Don't wear the same clothes as me in the future, or it will make my taste look terrible." After saying this, Jiang Yi turned and left. Jiang Yi walked over to Lai Lingyu with a helpless expression and asked, "Teacher, where did you find him?" Li Lingyu smiled and said, "I didn't go find him, he came looking for you on his own. That's why I just went with the flow and let you spar with him to train your practical combat ability." "Weren't you afraid I wouldn't be able to beat him?" Jiang Yi was speechless. Li Lingyu said with full confidence, "I know my own disciple. Your strength cannot be measured by spirit power alone." Facing such a teacher, Jiang Yi could only helplessly rub his forehead. Li Lingyu wasn't like this before. He had always been melancholy. Since he became his teacher, he had become increasingly strange. Perhaps the progress in his theories had lifted the heavy burden from his heart, leading to such a big change. Such a change was undoubtedly good, so Jiang Yi didn't bother to dwell on it. "After this battle, I have a rough understanding of your combat prowess. A spirit master who has just fused with their first ring is no longer your match. From now on, I will set aside time to train with you," Lai Lingyu said in conclusion. Jiang Yi had no objections to this. Having a spirit emperor like Lai Lingyu willing to help him train would naturally be a greater boost for him. Most importantly, Jiang Yi felt that fighting against Lai Lingyu was very likely to earn him achievements. In the days that followed, Zhu Long, who had been full of hostility toward Jiang Yi, became much more well-behaved after being defeated. He no longer dared to challenge Jiang Yi, nor did he dare to dress like him anymore. The combat training with Lai Lingyu had also begun a short while ago. The result was just as Jiang Yi had expected. As soon as the battle with Lai Lingyu ended, he gained a new achievement. Detected that the host, while having spirit power below level 10, fought a spirit emperor above their rank and survived without injury. Achievement name, Mayfly Shaking a Tree, a blue-silver grass that has just sprouted goes to challenge a giant dragon, should this be called commendable courage or stupidity? Achievement reward, resistance to intangible pressures, such as the intimidation, killing intent, and domain of high-rank spirit masters, is increased by 30%. Fighting a stronger opponent above one's rank and receiving such a reward was perfectly reasonable. This achievement reward didn't have much use for Jiang Yi at the moment. After all, aside from training, almost no low-rank spirit master would be foolish enough to fight a high-rank spirit master with spirit power above level 70. However, in future battles against high-rank spirit masters, this achievement would definitely prove to be very useful. Time spent cultivating flowed like water, and spring, summer, and autumn passed quickly. This year's winter was exceptionally cold, and Lingshan City, which hadn't seen snow for many years, experienced a long-awaited heavy snowfall. The buildings in the city were blanketed in snow, and everything fell into a cold stillness. Perhaps as cold as this heavy snow was the heart of a young boy in the city. After nearly a year of cultivation, Jiang Yi's spirit power growth remained rapid, and over a month ago, he had already broken through to level 9.9. Just when he was only one step away from level 10, he discovered that his cultivation could no longer progress. No matter how much spirit power he absorbed and refined, his spirit power remained completely unmoved. The occurrence of this situation was actually within Jiang Yi's expectations. If Yu Xiaogang, with his innate 0.5 level, couldn't break through to level 30, then it was only logical that he, with 0.1 level, couldn't break through to level 10. But when this situation, constantly cultivating yet unable to make any progress, truly happened to him, that sense of powerlessness still left Jiang Yi feeling frustrated. However, Jiang Yi still hadn't given up hope. As long as one is still present, everything is possible. At night, heavy snow fell once more. The mountain behind Lingshan Primary Academy was covered in blue-silver grass, which was also weighed down by the white snow. Yet they were not completely defeated. In the gaps of the white snow, there was still blue-silver grass growing with resilience and tenacity. Early in the morning, Jiang Yi, who was cultivating in his room, was awakened by a crackling sound. Opening his eyes, he walked into the small courtyard and looked out to see lanterns and decorations hung everywhere, every household busily putting up spring couplets, and children setting off firecrackers on the street. This was the last day of the year, and in this other world of Douluo Continent, there was a festival similar to the one in his previous life. When he first arrived in Douluo Continent, only during this festival could he feel a sense of belonging. And now he had been in Douluo Continent for 11 years. 11 years have already passed. I will absolutely not be defeated in Douluo Continent. I must break through the level 10 limit. Looking up at the sky, amidst the continuous heavy snow, it seemed as if flames were burning in Jiang Yi's eyes. Chapter 24, The Arrival of Officer Shifei, Shrek Academy Recommendation Letter. On New Year's Eve, the morning firecrackers woke Jiang Yi up, and Jiang Nanan naturally couldn't avoid the tradition either. Wearing a red dress, she stood out against the vast expanse of white, looking stunningly beautiful. Just then, a gentle breeze blew, and snowflakes drifted in her direction. It was as if even the snowflakes couldn't help but be captivated by her beauty. Jiang Nanan trotted into the courtyard. Seeing Jiang Yi there, she immediately smiled and ran over to hug his arm. "Brother Jiang Yi, why did you wake up so early?" With all this firecracker noise popping and crackling, it's impossible to stay asleep even if I wanted to, Jiang Yi said with a smile. Hee, shall we go out and light some firecrackers too? Jiang Nanan asked, acting coquettishly. You're already so grown up, yet you still want to set off firecrackers, Jiang Yi joked, stroking Jiang Nanan's hair. Jiang Nanan pouted in dissatisfaction, shaking Jiang Yi's arm. Jiang Yi smiled helplessly at Jiang Nanan's coquettish behavior. Let's wait until we've put up the spring couplets and finished paying our respects to heaven and earth, then I'll take you out to play. But we can't play for too long. We need to come back and help Aunt Roo prepare the New Year's Eve dinner. Okay, Jiang Nanan shouted happily. Both were spirit masters, so handling such minor tasks was a breeze. After finishing their tasks, the two went to the main street, just like in previous years. Accompanied by Jiang Yi. Jiang Nanan happily set off firecrackers, just like every new year since they were children. Looking at their excited Jiang Nanan, a sense of melancholy rose in Jiang Yi's heart. He knew that this might be one of the few times they would be together in the coming year. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Next year, Jiang Nanan would be 11, old enough to graduate from the Lingshan Primary Academy and head to a higher level academy. And with her talent, the place she would inevitably go to is Shrek Academy. As for him, he hadn't even solved the problem of breaking through level 10, so how could he talk about being with her? Brother Jiang Yi, come over here, Jiang Nanan called from a distance. Coming, Jiang Yi cast these thoughts aside and immediately responded. Night fell quickly. In the small courtyard, warm yellow light permeated the cold night. After today, another year will have passed. In the new year, Nanan and Zyro, you must stay safe and healthy. Sitting at the dinner table for the New Year's Eve feast, Aunt Rue said her simple wish with a face full of smiles. She only hoped her children would be healthy and strong, not forcing them to become powerful spirit masters. I also hope Mom stays healthy, Jiang Nanan said with a smile. Jiang Yi didn't speak, just watched the two with a smile. The New Year's Eve night passed in this warm atmosphere. On the first day after the New Year, someone expected came to visit. Uncle Shi, you're here, Jiang Yi greeted Officer Shifei at the door. Long time no see, Zyro Ye. Facing Jiang Yi, Officer Shifei showed a kind smile. Jiang Yi's talent was somewhat lacking, but his spirit Emperor Master, along with Jiang Nanan's attitude toward him, naturally made him worthy of such treatment. Please come in, Jiang Yi opened the door. With Officer Shifei's arrival, Aunt Rue quickly came out to host, and Jiang Nanan also came to Jiang Yi's side. Madam, Nanan's cultivation has improved very quickly recently. In 5 years, she has broken through from level 8 to level 28. Such cultivation speed makes her a genius among geniuses. Officer Shifei praised her without reservation. That is thanks to your help, Brother Shi. Otherwise, Nanan wouldn't have even been able to awaken her spirit, Aunt Rue said hurriedly. I only fulfilled my duty, Officer Shifei said modestly. I came to find you today because there is an important matter regarding a suggestion for Nanan. Officer Shifei's expression became serious. Officer Shifei's seriousness made Aunt Rue somewhat worried. Officer Shifei asked, given Nanan's age, she should be graduating from the primary academy. Do you have any plans for where she should go next? As soon as he said this, it immediately stumped Aunt Rue and Jiang Nanan. The two had indeed never thought about this matter. Only Lai Lingyu had mentioned it in passing while teaching them. Jiang Yi's eyes flashed. He already understood in his heart. As expected, he is recommending an academy for Nanan. It must be Shrek Academy. Sure enough, Officer Shifei took a letter directly from his bosom. The #1 academy on the Douluo Continent. I trust you have heard of it, madam. This is a recommendation letter written by the City Lord of Lingshan City. With this recommendation letter, anyone who meets the requirements can enroll. Given Nanan's conditions, she fully meets the enrollment requirements of Shrek Academy. After speaking, Officer Shifei placed the recommendation letter on the table and said nothing more. He trusted that Aunt Rue and Jiang Nanan would make the right choice. After explaining the important matter, Officer Shifei exchanged a few pleasantries and then left. After Officer Shifei left, looking at the recommendation letter on the table, both Jiang Nanan and Aunt Rue fell into a moment of silence. What's wrong? Why aren't you speaking? Jiang Yi smiled. Shrek Academy is the #1 academy on the continent and the best place for Nanan to go after graduation. What is there to hesitate about? Jiang Nanan looked at the smile on Jiang Yi's face, knowing that he just wanted her to go to a better academy to study. But for some reason, a sense of dissatisfaction rose in her heart. HMPH, if Brother Jiang Yi isn't going, I'm not going either, Jiang Nanan pouted. Who said I'm not going? Nanan, do you trust me? Jiang Yi asked seriously. Jiang Yi's serious expression made Jiang Nanan nod, involuntarily. From childhood to now, there hasn't been a single thing that Jiang Yi said he would do that he couldn't accomplish. Even when awakening her spirit back then, Jiang Yi had predicted it correctly. Then go to Shrek Academy, wait for me there and I will come to find you very soon. Jiang Yi stroked Jiang Nanan's hair, soothing her emotions. All right, but you must come find me quickly, Jiang Nanan whispered, her dissatisfaction dissipating. I will, Jiang Yi nodded confidently. The fact that Officer Shifei could bring the recommendation letter for Shrek Academy indirectly indicated that the time for Shrek Academy's opening was drawing closer. On the 10th day after the new year, Officer Shifei visited again to inform them that Shrek Academy would open on the 15th, telling Jiang Nanan to prepare. The time for parting was approaching, and both Jiang Yi and Jiang Nanan were very reluctant to separate. However, even though they were reluctant, both understood that this was a necessary separation. Brother Jiang Yi, you must come find me quickly. Before boarding the carriage, Jiang Nanan said, feeling very reluctant to leave. Watching the carriage bound for Shrek Academy leave, Jiang Yi turned and walked toward Lingshan Primary Academy. Since Jiang Nanan had already left, he also had to begin searching for a way to break through to level 10. The simplest method for him to break through to level 10 was undoubtedly the Xuanshui pill. After all, one Xuanshui pill could increase innate spirit power by at least one level. Chapter 25, The Method to Break Through Level 10. However, the Xuanshui pill was not so easy to obtain. This type of resource rarely circulated on the Douluo Continent. Only those top-tier factions could possess the Xuanshui pill, and their quantity was pitifully small. As a spirit emperor, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven for Lai Lingyu to obtain a single Xuanshui pill. After all, it was no longer 10,000 years ago. The number of spirit emperors was already high, and an ordinary spirit emperor could not be called a top-tier combat force. Furthermore, Lai Lingyu was a spirit emperor who would never be able to progress further. Using the Xuanshui pill to break through to level 10 was basically impossible at this stage. Other methods, including the Immortal Herb or the Blue-Silver Emperor, hidden in the Sun-Moon Empire, were simply unreachable for him right now, even with Lai Lingyu's help. The terrifying poisonous miasma shrouding the ice and fire yin-yang well was not something a single spirit emperor could resolve. Therefore, Jiang Yi had to look for other methods. His greatest reliance was the custom achievement system. If he could obtain an achievement that increased his innate spirit power, then all problems would be easily solved. However, obtaining an achievement to increase innate spirit power had too much uncertainty and would likely require a long time. With so many methods unusable, he ultimately placed his focus on the abilities he already possessed. That was the photosynthesis pioneer, or more accurately, the group photosynthesis pioneer. This ability, which could infuse vast amounts of heaven and earth energy into his body, was his chance to break through to level 10. As long as he absorbed enough heaven and earth energy, he would certainly be able to break through this bottleneck in one go. If he couldn't, it meant he hadn't absorbed enough spirit power. However, there was a great risk in using this method to break through. Because earlier, Jiang Yi had already tried it once, and the heaven and earth energy that reached his body's limit was not enough to break through this bottleneck. To break through, he had to far exceed what his body could bear and violently smash through the bottleneck. This would cause great damage to his body, and most importantly, using group photosynthesis to absorb such vast heaven and earth energy required a more powerful mental force, and Jiang Yi had no clue about methods to quickly increase his mental force. Whether it was the huge risk or the method to increase his mental force, both required time to prepare. He planned to tell Lai Lingyu about this idea so they could think of a solution together. He arrived at the residence of Lai Lingyu within Lingshan Primary Academy. Walking into the hall, he saw Lai Lingyu holding a letter, his brows furrowed as he looked at its contents. Seeing Jiang Yi arrive, he immediately put the letter away. Nanan has already left, right? Lai Lingyu asked. Jiang Yi nodded slightly and then said, Teacher, I want to talk about breaking through to level 10 this time. I have an idea now, perhaps it's my chance to break through to level 10. Oh, you have a method, Lai Lingyu's eyes brightened. That's right, teacher, you should be aware of my unique traits. I plan to. Jiang Yi laid out his thoughts completely, and Lai Lingyu frowned and nodded as he listened. According to your idea, you first need a way to keep your body from collapsing, and you also need to find a way to significantly increase your mental force in a short time. These two things are not easy to accomplish. Protecting the body from collapsing while exceeding its limits was also a problem that had always troubled Lai Lingyu in the extreme training method. Besides improving physical fitness, he couldn't think of any other better solution. He was currently only pinning his hopes on what Jiang Yi had proposed, fusing spirit rings from spirit beasts of the same origin to increase bloodline activity. Once bloodline activity was high, there would be no need to undergo such extreme training. I don't have a very good solution for keeping the body from collapsing, but I do have some research on increasing mental force in a short time, Lai Lingyu said with a smile. That's great, Jiang Yi said happily. However, this method of significantly increasing mental force in a short time does carry a certain level of risk. Li Lingyu began to explain to Jiang Yi his method for increasing mental force. When he was previously experimenting with the extreme training method, the extreme training that the participants underwent not only put great pressure on their bodies, but was also a tremendous torture for their minds. If the mental aspect could not be relieved or strengthened, it was impossible to complete the extreme training. If forced, the best-case scenario was fainting directly during training, and the worst-case result was a total mental collapse. To solve this problem, Lai Lingyu had devoted almost all his energy to researching a secret mental potion. At that time, he was situated within a faction with a long history, the books in the faction, combined with his talent in research. After nearly a year, he actually managed to research a suitable secret mental potion. With a sufficient dosage of the secret potion, after taking it, one's mental force could instantly increase by nearly double. Of course, not everyone could take a sufficient dosage of the secret potion. The medicinal properties of this secret potion were too intense and would place a heavy burden on the mind. If one's mental resilience was insufficient, it would also lead to mental collapse. Additionally, even if one could endure it, after using it, the mental force would fall into a period of lethargy. To avoid you experiencing mental collapse, in a while, once I have prepared the secret potion, I will gradually increase the dosage for you, from small to large, to find the dosage suitable for you, Lai Lingyu said seriously. Understood. During this time, I will also try to find ways to improve my physical fitness, Jiang Yi answered earnestly. After discussing it with Lai Lingyu, the issue regarding mental force was considered resolved. Jiang Yi took advantage of this time to devote almost all his time to spirit power body tempering. Having experienced such a long time of spirit power body tempering, most areas of his body had already been tempered. The remaining parts that had not been tempered from the inside out were all extremely important areas. Key parts like the internal organs were areas that Jiang Yi did not dare to touch lightly. Now, after such a long time of spirit power body tempering, combined with the urgency of breaking through to level 10, he had no choice but to begin tempering his internal organs. Returning home, Jiang Yi locked himself in his room. Let's begin. Jiang Yi took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began to control the heaven and earth energy within his body, slowly seeping it from his meridians into his internal organs. As the heaven and earth energy made contact with his internal organs, even though Jiang Yi had been extremely careful, it immediately produced a sensation as if he were being gnawed on by ants. However, this pain did not make Jiang Yi afraid or retreat. He knew that if he did not persist, there was no possibility of wanting to rely on group photosynthesis to break through to level 10. Enduring the pain, Jiang Yi continued to control the heaven and earth energy to proceed with the tempering. Soon, half a month passed, and Lai Lingyu finally came to the small courtyard to find Jiang Yi because his secret potion had been successfully refined. It was time to start testing the dosage of the secret potion that Jiang Yi could withstand.